Hello, welcome, all spooky people. No, I'm not keeping that up. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams, and tonight, for the Marquee, we will be tier ranking classic 80s indie cult horror that most people maybe don't know about unless you're just really into that sort of thing. That's what we're doing tonight. So hopefully you've got your list ready to write down some good horror movies, because these are going to be some ones that you may have heard of, you may not have heard of. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how these are going to rank on the Marquee tonight. Joining me tonight for this is Torie Rose from last week as well. Welcome back, Torie.
Hello, how are you, Robert?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking, him. And also joining us is, I would say, I don't think this is like hyperbole or anything. This has got to be like the epitome of the 80s horror queen on the internet. Lego, welcome to the show. I mean, who else was I going to pick for this?
That's how I want people to associate me. Like 80s horror, Lego.
When you want 80s horror, you think Lego.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, like some actual Lego toy sets of some of these like 80s horror movies, or at least like recreating the cover of some of these
Hot
would
Wheels.
be fantastic. Yeah, some of them. That would be a fantastic idea. Anyways, as we get started, I want to warn everyone, prepare yourself for some really goofy looking artwork that will be very well accentuated with some very bloody red dripping fonts on it. That seems to be like everything that these movies have in common, with the exception of like maybe one or two of these. They're all like blood dripping fonts on the covers or posters. It's kind of funny.
That's how you do it.
There's definitely a common running theme with that. So also, YouTube things out of the way real quick. Y'all got any questions, comments, issues you want me to know what your lists are? Streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. Submit those in. Submit your list. If you've seen a lot of these movies, how do you rank them? Get those in on Streamlabs. We'll read them at the end of this episode. So yeah, you can submit your inquiries there. Also, patreon.com/cinefanatics. If you feel the need to support us and you have the means, please jump on the tier that is good for you. As a heads up, even if you're at the $1 tier, you get access to the Cinefanatics Discord. Whenever we do these marquees, I'll post the list of movies we're ranking, so you have a heads up as to what movies are going to be on here. Gives you the opportunity to watch them as well and formulate your own opinion of where you think they would go on this list. Anyways, all of that out of the way. I love this episode just because 80s horror. We can quickly go through this. 80s horror for me was not something I was like fully into until probably like this past like year and a half, 2 years. I've really tried to jump into it. I've been mostly just, I want to watch horror, and like good, bloody, gory horror is fantastic. And then like 80s horror has such a niche market to it, or like kind of Lego, you could probably describe this better than I can. What is it about like these indie 80s horror movies that are so good?
There was a creative boom in the 80s, actually, particularly around the practical effects market, because after some issues financially in the 70s, the practical effects used to be part of the studios. But because of the financial issues, they separated and became their own thing. And there was much more of a rise in allowing people to make horror movies, also because of your classic hits, such as Halloween making so much money. People were pushing to make these low-budget, creative, interesting horror films in the 80s that we just didn't see being financially plausible or reasonable in the 70s. And also, I mean, Halloween brought us this interesting connection of, if a woman shows her breasts and then she gets murdered, people will want to see that. So that brings us to a lot of the movies we're talking about today.
That's right. I would love to see the boobs, and then they get killed off and we don't see the boobs anymore. This is a weird dynamic.
We could definitely do a whole episode on like this, because I'm so fascinated by what you just said, Lego. But I also think about like the 80s was also like a sexual revolution time. Like there definitely was in the 60s with Woodstock and everything. But like when you talk about like the nudity and graphic and like sort of like these like satanic elements that really started to pop up in the 80s horror movies. I do think a lot of that was like countercultural of like what was going on in America in general with like the music, like rock and roll and like metal was very much similar in that way. Like naked girls, you know, hard imagery, loud music, loud sounds, flashy. I think a lot of it was all like interconnected, which is why I love the 80s in general, truly.
Yeah. I think like one thing I really like just about horror movies in general, like Lego has gotten me to watch a couple of shows on Shudder. There's that In Search of Darkness, which In Search of Darkness Part 3. By the way, real quick plug for that, not sponsored, obviously. But if you want some more 80s horror movie, highly recommend that series. There's In Search of Darkness 1, In Search of Darkness 2, and In Search of Darkness 3 is about to come out here like in a couple of days, I believe. Those are all, so far, the first two are like, what, 4.5 hours long?
Yeah.
They're so interesting. I love them.
I think altogether they said it's going to be 14 hours for all 3 parts.
That's a whole lot of 80s horror. And like they are covering stuff like the Jason, Michael, Freddy, Chucky movies as well. But they are also highlighting a lot of like gems like the 18 that we're going to be talking about tonight. Speaking of those, I do want to highlight the rules for tonight. Now, Johnny, who typically reads the rules for the Marquee, he's been a bit under the weather, so he's still going to do it tonight. But we're going to see, we'll see how he sounds. Hey, Johnny, take it away. Yeah, so as you see, we've got a limit of 3 films for all the tiers because there's 18 movies and 6 tiers. So we're going to do a limit of all 3. Do you understand? Robert, you are amazing looking. You are a dashing man. I can't believe you're still single. How are you still not snatched up? Man, if I was a woman, I would snatch you up in a heartbreak. Anyways, that's what's going on tonight. Thank you. Take it away, Robert. That's the first time Johnny's ever actually been complimentary to me. Interesting. Should bring that back more often. Anyways, so that being said, we're ready to move on to the actual Marquee. Let's bring the Marquee out and hit it, Carl. It's a lot longer than I feel like it needs to be anymore. I think I've really got this down pat. So, anyways,
professional Marquee.
Yeah, here is the Marquee board. Again, those of y'all who may not be familiar with how this works, if you're familiar with tier making, ranking stuff on a tier, that's basically what this is. We've got S at the top, meaning superb, the highest, the one that we like the most. F, of course, is the same as in grade school, failure, just absolute. Yeah, fuck off, whatever. It's just the absolute like lowest bottom of the barrel. Now the problem with this, and I believe that the two of y'all might actually agree with this, is all these movies that are on this list are all like pretty. They all have like very similar themes in the fact that they're all just like good, fun, campy horror movies. Of course, 80s indie horror, as we were talking about before. It's going to be kind of hard to say like, oh, this movie is good, but I'm going to have to put it in F because once again, something has to go to F. So this doesn't necessarily mean that we hate these movies. It's just something has to go down there. In comparison to the rest of the movies on the list, that's where it goes. So that being said, let's get started with... And this is something else I'm probably going to ask if y'all know about as well, because these first couple of movies definitely have a theme to them. But the first one right off the bat we're going to start with is New Year's Evil. Ooh. Lego, we're going to start with you.
Okay, so I will say that I've ranked all of these based on how much do I want to rewatch them. New Year's Evil, I think, is very fun. I love the band that of playing throughout the movie. This movie does have a song that features the name of the movie in the chorus of the song, which I think always puts a movie up for me. I do love that. I think it was interesting. I found it, man, I wonder if Barbara Creed was, because it is so up the feminist film critiques book kind of hated it too, which lowered it for me. So comparatively to like all the other movies we have, I think this one ranks much lower for me, and I would put it in D, though I will say it is fun and worth a watch. It's a D for me.
It's New Year's Evil! Yeah. It sounded exactly like that.
Exactly.
So real quick on that song, speaking of which, have you seen The Mutilator?
It's on my list on Tubi, next to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It doesn't have a rock band, but it does have a song. That the thing with it is that song is completely out of place for that movie. It sounds like like an after school special type of song. The movie was called Mutilator, but it was originally called Fall Break, so the song is called Fall Break. It's hilarious. And that's also going to be something that pops up a couple of times on this list is these movies have alternate names or were originally called like something
3 titles.
Yeah, like Blood Rage has multiple titles. I think it was called like Slasher or something like that.
It says Slasher on the opening credits.
Yeah. So that is another staple of 80s horror movies. Torie, what did you think of this?
Very similar to Lego with my opinions of it. I wanted to make the joke that the killer in this is the like original incel. Just like that was the vibe. I did find it, entertaining for what it was. Like Lego said, I think it's worth a watch. I think there's some interesting like imagery in it. I think the mask thing is creepy. I think there's creepy moments in it. But overall, in terms of like rewatchability, and what I also consider with these movies, besides rewatchability for me, was there interesting imagery? Because I love weird imagery. If there's something creepy or weird or new that I think is cool, honestly, it'll push it up for me regardless. Like one of my favorite things about The Thing, even though I think the film itself is fantastic, is the imagery. I love the imagery. It sticks in my head. I find it fascinating. Also weirdness. I love weirdness in a horror movie. So if a movie's weird, I'm going to push it up for me. And like weird humor, if it can make me laugh in like that kind of cheesy camp way. Compared to the other movies on this list, this movie doesn't do a lot of that for me. So I also had it in D tier compared to the rest of these films. Still think it's worth a watch though.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought this movie was a lot of fun. The thing I really like about this movie is almost from right off the bat, we see who the killer is.
Mm-hmm.
We see the killer. We're watching him. Like it's cutting between this radio show that's like counting down when it's midnight in each time zone. We're watching that intercut with the killer going out and killing people, like almost from his point of view. And then he's calling in his exploits to the radio station with the weirdest of voice. What's funny is you hear his voice before you see his face. Mm-hmm. And then when you see his face, you're like, wait, that was where the voice was coming from? Granted, the voice is modulated, but he's like, my name's Van.
My name is Kermit. I'm going to kill someone at every stroke of midnight.
I do still like that even though we're following the killer, which, I mean, this movie is like, what, 1980? That's still pretty new for like a slasher genre film. We didn't really follow killers that much like that. We're usually following like all the kids or people who are being killed by the killer. There's one extra like little twist in this movie that I thought played very well. Like I can't believe that was still the twist. Even though we know who the killer is the whole time, there's still a twist to it at the end. And I thought it played very well. I liked it. Mm-hmm. That being said, I thought it was a lot of fun. I do agree, like the certain shots, the shot of him with the lighter in the dumpster was hilarious. Mm-hmm. Like, boop.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I have this as an A.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're in for a bumpy ride with some of these.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm thinking I think my A and S are solid, so I'm curious what you have lower.
Yeah.
So 2 Ds and an A.
Which I think is probably going to put it in C.
Yeah.
High C or low B. I think we'll go with high C for right now.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm thirsty and this water's not cutting it.
You're putting it in B though.
Well, no, I'm lining it up and then I'm gonna put it in C.
Oh, sorry, I have trust issues. I was literally like, don't.
That was like the most like out of nowhere response. I'm sorry, I have trust issues.
Yeah. True.
Okay, so next one. Torie, we're gonna start with you on this. This is Bloody Birthday.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I have like all sorts of in a list. Similar vibes for this one. Not a huge killer kid person. I don't know. It doesn't like scare me. I think just because I grew up when I did, it was just more of like a well-known theme, and I could see how back then this would be very shocking. Especially just having kids in horror movies that are graphic in general. Like, I think, forgive me, Lego, if I'm wrong, but like I feel like the 80s really pushed that forward. Like, what year was The Shining? In the 80s?
1980.
Yeah, so like having like a kid be like a center, star in a horror film featuring all sorts of blood and stuff. I could see how that at the time would be especially shocking and interesting. But for me, it doesn't do a ton. Again, like my criteria of like, is it super weird? Does it make me laugh? Is there an imagery that sticks with me? Is it creepy? Compared to the other movies on this list, I just don't think it gets up there for me. I think it is, a little weird. I think there's moments that are like pretty quirky and funny. But again, just comparing it to the rest of this list and what other 80s movies are out there, I didn't have it as high in the list. Still think you should watch it. Just going to reiterate that for any of my lower ones, but I had this also in D tier, same as New Year's Evil.
Okay. Yeah, so I like this primarily because of the kids. All three of the kids do fantastic in this.
Yes, the acting is great with them.
They're really good. And they really sell, like, just with facial expressions too. The little girl, I forgot her name, but she, the whole time, she spends a lot of time just staring and making faces at people, and she just sells it just with that look alone. Yep. And I thought it was hilarious what they were able to pull off and do in that movie. The other thing I like about this is like the music, the use of the music in this movie, primarily, not really a spoiler, but when Tommy finally gets out of the refrigerator, they play like this rocky fanfare music, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So it's really good. I thought it was a really good idea as far as like all these kids were born on the night of an eclipse, so they're all evil kids and stuff. It was a lot of fun. I actually do also have this in A.
Interesting.
Lego.
Interesting, Robert. Interesting.
I think this is the only movie on this list that I did not actually like. This is my first time watching it, and I just felt that they had a good idea when I saw. I'm like, okay, these kids are born on an eclipse. Is it going to be like a Village of the Damned kind of thing? And I felt like that's kind of the storyline they wanted to tell, but they did it in the most boring way. Like, you're setting me up for Supernatural, and you're giving me a kid walking around with a gun, which is the most boring storyline you could possibly give me, especially when you have killer kids. You could do so much with it. Yeah, this one just really fell flat for me. I put it in F. I didn't really have much
so
to
far,
say
Lego
about it.
and I are on similar pages, and then Robert. So I'm wondering if Robert's high ones are going to be flipped for me. Or his low ones.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So we got D, A, and F. So that's going to put it. That's probably going to. That'll put it under New Year's Evil, I believe.
Oh yeah, wait, Robert, to interrupt you before I forget,
Yeah.
because like even like Nerd in the chat is saying like people haven't seen a lot of these movies. Should we give like a little summary of what it is before we go into our review, like the first person who reviews the thing, just so they know what we're talking about?
Yeah, that would actually probably be beneficial, because I know, again, a lot of these movies are movies that people probably haven't heard of.
Yeah.
If you're just like diving into 80s horror for like the first time. So New Year's Evil, again, pretty much it's takes place on New Year's Eve. There's a popular radio show counting down New Year's in each time zone live. And at midnight in each time zone, this killer guy who calls himself Evil is calling in and playing back a tape of him killing some random woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're getting shown cuts of him actually going out and hunting, I guess, for a woman to. I don't know what the proper term is for that, but
Stalking.
Yeah. And then Bloody Birthday. It's 3 kids were born during an eclipse. Nothing really supernatural about it. They're just evil. So they're evil. They're manipulative. They gaslight. Like it's just bonkers what these kids are able to do. They have peep shows with what was it, Julie Bowen?
Yes.
Like a young Julie Bowen. Like,
that was a scene. Yeah.
That was funny. I like how she charges them like another quarter. Like you have to put money back in the machine to play.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. That was the whole thing.
Anyways. That's a good idea. Let's go with next one. To me will be My Bloody Valentine.
Interesting.
When I first heard about this movie, my first thought was like, this sounds just kind of boring. It takes place at Valentine, but it involves like some guy in a miner costume. It's like just looks just. And then I watched it, and I actually thought it was pretty good. Like the storyline, like as silly as it is, it made sense. This takes place like in some small, like I forgot the town. I think the town's name is like Valentine Haven or something like that. So they're big at celebrating Valentine's Day. Way back when this town, real quick, this town is also very popular for having a mine. So there's a lot. I think it's a coal mine, I believe.
I think so.
So that coal mine is very crucial to the success and the economy of this town. They had a Valentine's Day party one year, and some of the miners wanted to quickly go to the party, so they left work without checking the methane gas levels of the mine to make sure it's clear before they leave, and it ended up causing an explosion, killing people. One person, I believe, ended up living, and then to survive, he had to eat like some of the other miners and stuff, and he went crazy or something like that, and he starts killing people.
Yeah.
Or he threatens the town that if they ever celebrate Valentine's Day again, people will die again. So this town, ever since then, has not been celebrating Valentine's Day until this movie. Now these kids are like, well, screw it. I don't care. I'm going to celebrate Valentine's Day anyways. And then people start dying.
Yep.
I like what they did with this movie. It was a lot of fun. The weirdness of some of the characters, particularly the killer, was really strange, especially at the end of it. I do like one thing I like about this movie in particular is how much it was edited when it was first released. I guess they what was it? This was 81. I guess they were already having major problems with like the MPAA back then. So a lot of the more gory, violent parts of these movies were edited out. In 2009, they were found and they were re-added back in, but they really didn't fix or restore the footage. So if you're watching this movie in the restored version, there will be times, especially when the kills are going on, that all of a sudden the film is going to go extremely grainy, and the thing that you're looking at is probably really gory, over the top. Just I thought that was like a nice like charm of this movie. Now, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I have this movie as a B. Lego.
Oh no, I had seen the original first and quite liked the original. Didn't love it, just kind of enjoyed it. And I watched this one, and it felt very flat to me. I thought some of the kills are pretty interesting. I kind of like the idea of someone being bitter over Valentine's Day, not because it's Valentine's Day, but because of this horrific event that just so happened to occur on Valentine's Day. So it isn't just like some incel going around killing people, because that would be really not fun to watch. I mean, it's a fine movie. I would definitely recommend watching it. But overall, I personally just found it kind of boring, and it just didn't really grab my attention very well. So this is one I also had an F.
Oh. Torie.
So weirdly enough, Robert, I flipped to you in terms of my matching my ranking. I have this in B. Spoiler alert. This is one of the ones when I talk about the boxes I tick off for like what makes a good like 80s horror, like or B movie horror, or just like I guess, how would you describe like Rubber? Is Rubber like a B? More modern,
maybe
like weird horror movies is what I refer to them. Like,
yeah,
they know what they are, and they're just
it's got the strange.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like my boxes are, what I mentioned before. And for this one, it had a lot of cool imagery for me. Just like interesting, and it was weird. And I liked a lot of the other movies in this list more. But for me, I had it as a B for the imagery, and I think it was like very creative, like the mine stuff. I find mines really scary for some reason. I don't really know why. Don't have any mine trauma that I know about, but they creep me out. And so, yeah, the imagery I thought was interesting. I agree with Lego. I think like the story overall was like pretty dull. But the imagery did it for me. It made up for it for me. So I had it in B.
Okay. So 2 B's and an F. So the end of C?
Probably, yeah. So far, we're very C.
Yeah, we were just in a hurry to fill up that C tier.
Mm-hmm. Watch like our reviews be so divided, all the movies fall in the middle, and we have to start like
building
really
them out.
picking. Yeah.
Well, as we typically do on these, we're gonna rank all 18 of these movies, and then at the very end, we'll do like a last minute shuffle if we feel like we still want to move some stuff around, regardless of what our previous opinions were, how we feel the movie places in regards to all the other ones. Garth is saying, what was strange and weird about Rubber? That was based on a true story.
That's fair. Sorry.
And then Nerd, it looks like a couple of people were mentioning this. Yeah, this is what I was asking for these first 3 movies, and I know this is going to come back up again, but why is there such a fascination in the 80s to make horror movies based around holidays of some sort?
The success of Halloween.
Oh, duh, that would be why. Good point, Lego. Man, I'm glad you're here
Sometimes
for this.
I have those.
I wouldn't have been
able
to
got
figure that out.
I don't think Black Christmas was particularly successful or super well known back in the 80s, but that would be the first horror film to center around a holiday.
It wasn't Krampus, I feel like, I think of too with Christmas, which is not obviously in the 80s, but
Yeah. Okay. So that was My Bloody Valentine. So we're back to Lego. With this is probably one of my favorite ones on here. That's Cult. Basket Case.
Oh.
Basket Case. I do like a Frank Henenlotter quite a bit. And oh man, I know quite a few people have tweeted this out, so not my joke, but like this movie, like if you liked Malignant, please watch Basket Case. It's a film about a guy who has a shall we say unique situation with a twin, without being too specific, and then they get, well, one of the twins wants to get revenge on some things that happened to them when they were young and they were kind of traumatized about. Medical trauma is very real, and I'm not saying the doctors deserved to die or anything. That would be horrible, but from some in Belial's point of view, they had it coming. But then it's also very sexploitation, dirty, like New York in the 80s movie that Frank Henenlotter is very well known for. I love the actor whose name I do know but can't think of off the top of my head.
The lead guy, Dwayne?
Yes.
Kevin Van Hendrick, something like that.
Those letters and sounds that you made. Dwayne. Yes, I think he did a really good job. I don't think he was really in anything other than a few Frank Henenlotter films. It's, for the time, a pretty unique story. It's, definitely fun and interesting. And before What's in the Box, there was What's in the Basket.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Overall, I would put it in C, but because C's filled, I would move it up to a B. Just a fun time with some brothers and some grungy New York.
Yeah,
fun time with baskets.
That should be the
not basketball.
The tagline.
That sounds like if Sheldon Cooper was talking about this movie, Fun Time with Baskets.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Torie.
I really like this movie. So this is one of the ones that's like right up my alley. It hits a lot of my boxes, if not all of them. It's weird. The imagery is interesting and creepy and strange. I thought it was funny. I think like you're watching it and you're like, what am I watching? And like you like not in a bad way. You're just like when I'm watching Rubber, which is one of my favorites. It's just like, what am I watching? And you're like, they did this. They really did that.
What have I done in my life that brought me to watching this right now?
Yeah, like or like I love a horror movie where like someone walks in the room while you're watching it and you're like,
I'm gonna need to pause and explain why I'm doing this.
yeah, like there's a lot happening that you missed. And so yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, weird, horror, grungy, like Lego said, you know, I'm from New York, love it 80s New York, garbage place. And so yeah, I actually had this really high. I had this as A because it just ticks my boxes. It ticks my boxes. If you're into stuff like me or you seem to like a lot of the stuff I do, I recommend you watch this. Or even if not, honestly, like I think it's worth a watch regardless, but I had it at A.
I kind of like where this is going. I'll show y'all here in a bit. I love Basket Case. This movie is so insane. What I like about it is it's almost, and I know at some points it was, not all the time, but at some points this was filmed guerrilla style. Like they didn't have a budget for anything on this movie. Behind the scenes, the way this movie got made is they would film like a little piece of it, and then they would show that small piece to investors who would be like, okay, this looks good. We'll give you some money. They would take that money, film a little bit more, take that piece, show it to investors. They're like, oh, this looks pretty good so far. We'll give you some more money. And then they would take that money. And that's how they filmed this entire movie. I think they were saying like this movie took like 2 years or so to make, something like that, 2-3 years, because they had to film it like in small little pieces. But yeah, this movie's a treasure. Like the practical stuff in it, the insanity of it, the stop motion of it, how nasty it makes that part of New York look. Which I mean, from what I understand, that actually is how New York looked.
Yes.
And smelled. I mean, you could smell New York in this movie. Like that's how it actually was, and it's so weird. It's so great. All the characters, the neighbors in this hotel are all just so strange and off the wall. I love this movie, and I would also highly recommend watch the sequels. Basket Case 2 and 3. They're their own separate beast, but they're just as crazy and off the wall as this one. This one primarily has that New York feel to it. I have Basket Case as my first S.
Look at you. Here.
The reason I say this is funny is because as we're doing this, I'm writing down our letters. The first 3 letters are BAS. Like I'm trying to spell basket here.
Look at you.
It's kind of funny. That being said, since it's B, A, and S, that means this is going to go A tier.
I love that you put it in S, though. Look at you. Cult of Belial.
I was like, did you think I wasn't going to put anything in S? Or
No, it's just like, I respect it.
That's also like our first actual like blood dripping font out of all these movies. A lot of them have been red so far, but is the last Basket Case movie subtitled Case Closed? No, Garth.
Should be.
Let's see. We're going to go to Torie. This will be fun. Let's talk about Sleepaway Camp.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well,
no spoilers.
No spoilers. Honestly, I watched this movie like a long time ago, so I'm just gonna pull up a quick little thingy just to make sure I don't spoil anything of like what it says when you I mean it's about a summer camp, spoiler alert. Basically, you know, a bunch of murders happen at the summer camp. And a lot more interesting stuff happens than that, but I kind of feel like that's all I need to say. because this is one of the movies that, similar to Reanimator and I think Blood Rage, which I'll get to later, I don't think you need to know a lot going into it to appreciate it, and I don't think you need to really see the imagery to go into it. Like, I think you should see it as you watch the movie, I guess is what I mean. It's really interesting, really weird, checks all my boxes. It's not like Friday the 13th if you're thinking like it's going to be like a summer camp slasher in that way. It's weirder, so just be ready for that. I really enjoy it. I really like it. I think you should just watch it if you like slasher movies or horror movies, honestly. I had this as my I guess in this list order, my first S. This is my first S movie.
Yeah. So I agree with like all that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I would say outside of Friday the 13th, this probably is like my next favorite camp horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know, was it The Burning, I believe, would probably come pretty close as well. But yeah, it's just the ending of Sleepaway Camp. If you don't know the ending, here's the thing. You probably do know the ending because I'm pretty sure you've at least seen the image at some point in your lifetime. You just don't realize it. If you actually don't know the ending of this is another like Sixth Sense, Usual Suspects. Like if you're into this movie and you're watching and following it, and then that ending hits you, it's a good ending. Mm-hmm. It is a jaw-dropping ending.
Yes.
I don't know how it would work nowadays. Might be a little weird.
Yeah.
Might not work contemporary wise, but back then that was pretty shocking. So I really like this movie. All the kids do a phenomenal job in this. And I think that's one of the things that makes this really good is it actually uses kids. Unlike Friday the 13th, where they had like adults playing teenagers like Power Rangers. This was actually kids. And you could see these kids are acting like kids in this movie. And I love it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I have this also as an S. Lego.
Okay. Oh, wait. Before I begin, I will say horror movie that takes place at camp. Everyone should watch 2015 Final Girls. Find it.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that.
It's really good.
Okay. So as it pertains to Sleepaway Camp, I will give a little bit away and say this is a LGBTQ film and is very beloved within that community. I can certainly see why some might think not, but it is. So definitely cool to watch it. I love this film. I came up with a grid of killer likability to victim likability and how that can lead to an improvement of a horror movie franchise. Like the more you like the killer and dislike the victims, the more likely it is that you'll have a successful horror movie franchise. And while the Sleepaway Camp franchise is not very successful, the first movie is pretty well known, particularly for the ending. I liked the killer and I hated every person they killed. I'm like, yes, kill them. I'm good. Let's go. Fun time. Let's go to camp. The characters are all kind of assholes, except for the ones that you're following, which I thought were very likable. It's kind of a whodunit at camp. Yeah, fun times. I do. Part of me does wish that they had hired like 30-year-olds to play teenagers, but that's neither here nor there. I guess overall I would put it in A. Yeah.
ASS.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is an ass. So we've got two S's and an A. So it's gonna go in S, but very likely we'll leave room just in case. So I'll put it at the end of S for right now. And next one to me. Garth says that Final Girls is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to watch that still. So next one is Night of the Comet. Let's see, what did I have for this? I like this because it was kind of like a fun idea take on like the end of the world ish. I feel like this is very much in the same vein as like a Romero zombie movie, in that like it is like the end of the world, the zombies are out there, but the movie itself is like a commentary on something social, whether it's like Dawn of the Dead was all about consumerism in a shopping mall. Like stuff like that. It has like the underlying social commentary to it. This one I like because I feel like the characters are just a lot more fun. Like in comparison to Dawn of the Dead, while the characters that we're following are interesting, I like the characters in Night of the Comet a lot more. Especially like the lead girl, Kelly Maroney. I really like her holding, like even in this picture, she's holding like a machine gun in a cheerleading outfit. That was a lot of fun. And then we got the lead guy is was it Robert Beltran from Star Trek Voyager?
Sure.
Yeah, he was, if you're a Trek fan, he was Chakotay in that. I saw this and I was like, is that the guy from Star Trek? So Garth is saying best part of this movie that inspired Joss Whedon to create Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yep.
I can see that. Yeah, there's a good connection there as far as like the personalities that they give the two female leads in this. Otherwise, yeah, I really like this movie. That being said, there's a lot of other movies. I just looked down to see what I actually rated after I said I liked it. There's other movies on here that I like more. I do have this as a D, but I still like the movie. That's what I say. This was going to be kind of hard because a lot of these movies are fun.
This list is hard.
Yeah, this is a hard list. But yeah, I have this as a D. Lego.
Man, when I think of like, if someone asked me to recommend a fun movie, it would be like this and The Lost Boys. This movie is just so much fun. I think like when I think of like my personality embodied in a film, it's freaking Night of the Comet. I love this movie from top to bottom. The underacting, the overacting, the scene in the mall where they're doing like a whole dance to Cyndi Lauper. Like everything about this movie is just great. The zombies were pretty fun looking. The 80s had a lot of films where there's something that a comet causes something, because that's when Halley's Comet flew by or whatever. So that's a very popular thing that happened at that time period just because of real world events. And this film is just such a time capsule. I love everything about it, man. Like honestly, I think it's a perfect little fun film, and it's definitely an S tier for me.
So yeah, real quick, for this movie, it's a movie where a comet flies by, and like anyone who wasn't in a very specific kind of enclosure just up and disappeared. Like clothes and stuff are laying all over the ground. So the people that we're following are the ones that just so happen to luckily be shielded from the comet, and we're following them. So yeah, that's what this is primarily about. Yeah, I did like, was it the girls just want to have fun?
Yeah.
Is what I forgot about that too, but yeah, that was fun scene. Torie.
Lego.
What direction does Torie
go? No, it's
this?
cool. Trash it. Just trash it. Just do
Don't
it.
hate me. Don't hate me.
Okay,
when I was gonna watch this movie, I hadn't seen it until this list, and I looked up like a little summary of it first, like I did for a lot of these, of just like figuring out like what I was gonna watch first and like what I was most interested in and whatever. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a blast. Like, I'm gonna watch this. It's up my alley. Love women, love zombies, love girls just want to have fun. Love this image. Would buy a t-shirt of this movie for sure. Like the imagery, the aesthetic, fantastic. For some reason, it didn't grab me in the same way the other movies on this list did. I thought it was fun. I think it was just maybe lacking a weirdness level for me that I like in a lot of the other movies on this list. I think you should definitely watch it. Again, like, honestly, none of the movies on this list are anything I hate or would even say I don't like. It's just when I'm rating, like, what would I want to watch, like, tonight? And what would I not mind watching again until it was like, somewhere that it was just on and I happened to see it. So you should watch it. Lego Don't Kill Me. I had it in F tier.
Wow, S to F.
I know. I love women. I will say I love that it's women leads in a horror movie, like, and that they're like powerful and badass, and like it's a fun time. I don't know. It didn't do it for me. It didn't do it.
That's fair. It's not for everyone.
Yeah. So
I think we're gonna say that about a lot of these movies.
It's a rare, upbeat zombie movie. You don't see that very often.
And I don't know if anyone is able to correct me if I'm wrong on this. I would say, isn't this like the first zombie movie where the zombies talk?
What year did it come out?
This came out in 1984.
So it would have been before
Return. of the and even then, all he said was like brains, right? He didn't actually.
They could talk a little more than that. Send more. What did he say? Send
no.
Send more.
No, that's right. There was the woman zombie that was on the table, and she was saying that they have to eat brains because it's
best scenes in any zombie movie
I
ever.
I forgot about that one also. Yeah.
When that woman says, "I can feel myself rotting," I felt that.
The movie we're talking about currently is not on this list for us to rank, and it really should be because it's really good as well. But it's Return of the Living Dead. It's the movie that popularized zombies eating brains. So that it wasn't really known until that movie, and you have like the Tar Man zombies, like brains. That's where it came from. Also, what Lenina Quigley dancing in the
Linnea
graveyard.
Quigley, my hero, my icon.
And then Miguel A. Nunez, always a good time in anything he's in. From this
he's the guy from Friday the 13th who ate those enchiladas.
Yeah, shouldn't have eaten the damn enchiladas. And then he's like in the porta potty singing, "Ooh, baby." Yeah, I love it.
Portable Waco.
That's Joanna Man right there. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. I almost feel like every year we should do like another like cult 80s. Like every year when we're doing the marquee for October, we do horror movies. One of those marquees in October has to be let's return to 80s horror movies and just rank some more of them.
Listen,
there are so many.
This was really fun for me. So
don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah.
So this one, the next one we're going to rank is Night Shadows. Mutant. Who knows? This is another one of those that has like multiple titles. Before I even like talk about this movie, just based off of the imagery alone of this, the poster, the marketing materials, this looks like it's gonna be just a down and dirty like alien invasion in a small town type of thing. It's not really what this movie's about. There's no H.R. Geiger type of imagery in this movie, even though the poster looks like. That looks like Alien.
It looks like a vagina.
Okay.
A labia.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Alien vagina.
Are we going to talk about how in Nope that was totally a vagine?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So this is basically we're following two guys that are traveling and they get stuck in a small town. Stop me if you've heard this one before. This seems to be a very common trope of horror movies, especially 70s and 80s. Yeah.
There's something weird about it.
Something weird. Mm-hmm. That's the
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. This is one of those movies. So I love those kinds of movies. It's fun because in this town, you have no idea who is in on this sickness and who isn't. And the lead characters, especially like the main lead guy out of the two guys that we're following, there's one in particular that we follow throughout the whole movie, and that's Wings Hauser. And he is so good in this. like he looks like he would be like that guy on the football team that just says funny like incel type of things, but he's actually really funny in this. Like I want to hear him keep talking. Like the rest of the performances in this movie, they're like a little cheesy, but I mean, it's an 80s horror movie. It's what you get. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. This is another one of those movies that I didn't know of or really have heard of until we were formulating this list. And then it was recommended to be on this list. So I watched it. I was like, this was a good recommendation. I still have it as a D, but I still enjoyed it. So
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question before we just because the small town thing?
Yeah.
Just while we have Lego here, because I feel like it's an interesting point I just thought of. I had heard, because I'm a true crime weirdo, that's my guilty pleasure is true crime. And I've watched documentaries before that talk about how in the 80s, like the serial killer really became a prominent concept, and how, like, for example, Ted Bundy, who primarily killed in the West, used the highway systems that expanded drastically in the 80s to really be able to get away with what he did for so long, because he was able to like move from town to town or spot to spot, dump a body, take a highway, go to a near town, and it allowed him to live that double life. Lego and like Robert, you can also talk. I feel like, is that maybe why the small town trope like blew up in the 80s? Was like people had this new fear of like you could travel to a faraway place, but you'd have to take roads you really didn't know, and they were new, and you were just kind of like feeling like you were in these deserted areas that really hadn't been to before. Like, do you think?
I don't really see that connection quite as much as I would just the expansion of particularly like white people moving to the suburbs.
Yeah,
I think was a little bit more like the whole idea of rural areas have always been kind of frightening to people from the cities. And generally speaking, most people who make movies are from a big city. Like
That's
you don't
fair.
see a lot of people who've grown up in these small towns going out and making movies, and I'm assuming the ones they do probably don't look like Mutant.
Yeah.
I think there's also kind of a fear of like, how do we mean, but like generally we kind of associate, and you see this in like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and in this movie as well, we kind of associate smaller towns with less educated people, so they're more likely to be more aggressive, I think. And I don't think though, like beyond that, I don't know. I just, listen, I've lived in a big city, I've lived in a small city. Smaller cities are freakier. They just are.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So for a really good example, I currently live in Austin, Texas. Torie has also lived here. This is an actual city. Torie can attest. This is a city. Unlike the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, makes it sound like Austin could potentially just be a small pit stop type of town as well. Even though the Texas Chainsaw Massacre takes place like just outside of Austin.
Where is Tobe Hooper from?
I know. I want to say he's been like through Texas before.
So like I've been through Texas, but like I'm from LA. So like what I think of Texas, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is exactly what I think of in terms of every single city in Texas. So if you want more from the West, totally see where that would just be his perception of it. Mm-hmm. Although I do wonder why he chose Texas.
There is a town just outside of Austin called Bastrop, and that's where a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was filmed. Like the gas station still stands; it's out there. The house has been moved around a couple of times, and I forgot where the house is at. It's still in the Austin area. You can still go to it, but I believe last I heard, it's been turned into like a restaurant, gift shop, museum type of. It's really weird.
A bed and breakfast.
Almost, almost,
great.
but yeah. Okay, so they're saying in the chat that Toby is from Austin. Okay, that's what I thought. Like, I could have sworn I heard that like he went to like the University of Texas here and stuff, so that would make sense. Anyways, Lego. You were going to talk about Mutant.
Okay. I quite like Mutants. I think it is the monsters I thought were similar to zombies, but clearly distinct from them. And I didn't find the monsters to be super scary in terms of the makeup effects, but I did think that they had something else going on with them that made them kind of frightening. Listen, if you can melt me, I'm not into it. Go away, scary monster. But it was the acting on the part of the people who were trying to get away from the monsters that really, really sold it. Like, particularly the woman whose name I don't know. She, like, when she's in a moment where she's afraid, I really felt that in a way that, honestly, I felt was so much more than, like, I mean, I've watched a lot of horror movies, but I felt she sold it so much better than most actors I've seen on screen. She did a tremendously good job. It's kind of a dopey movie throughout a lot of it, but when it gets going finally and like the plot sets in and you start realizing what's happening, it's so good. There's a cop in it who has his own kind of story going on that is phenomenal. Like, a lot of times cops in horror movies are just painful, yeah. But this guy was really, really great. And there was a scene, because the two guys were following in the beginning, they're brothers, and they stop at a bed and breakfast, and at the beginning, I thought something was happening that I realized later on I was incorrect about. So I'll go ahead and say, because I was wrong, I thought the brother got abducted by this old lady and was like being held in a sex dungeon. And I don't know why I thought that. That's not what happened, but it's closer to what did happen than it really had any right to be. So I don't know. The movie, it's funny. The performances are really great. It's unique, although not like, well, it's not going to wow you. Definitely worth a watch. I totally would put it in S tier in terms of like 80s cult horror movies. I'm surprised that it's not more well known.
It's got to pick a title first.
So yeah, I was thinking of that.
And I'm kind of thinking if we do this again or in the future, specifically with some of these like indie little known horror movies, if they have multiple titles that they could be found at, like we were talking about, Blood Rage was also called Slasher. It's primarily, if you're just Googling it, you're going to find it under Blood Rage. You're not really going to find it under the title Slasher. This movie is going to be commonly found both as Mutant and as Night Shadows. Like, if you look this up on Letterboxd, it's Night Shadows. It's not Mutant. So, what's funny, because I don't think there's really any mutants in this actual movie.
Well, there's an environmentalist angle to it, which was very prominent.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Movies. Maybe that came from, I'm not sure if there was like any big like spills in the 80s or anything, or that's just when we became more environmentally conscious and we were more like afraid of that. But there is, I'm assuming because of that, like they don't fully explain it, but I'm assuming that they've like, the people have like mutated, and that's what that title came from. I don't understand Night Shadows. Yeah. That title doesn't quite work as well. Some of these titles are interesting. We'll talk about one later. Yeah. Or I will anyway.
Torie.
I agreed with Robert on a lot of points, so also Lego, but in terms of like my personal liking of the movie, I thought it was interesting. I didn't love the visuals personally as much. I don't know if I just have a thing against zombie movies at this point, maybe, because I feel like the ones in this list ranked lower for me personally. So maybe I don't know. I watched The Walking Dead for a long time. I was like a zombie fanatic as a kid. Like, when I first got into horror movies, I watched like, what is it, like the zombies on a plane? What is it even called? Dead on a something, and then there's like zombies on an island, and then there were zombies on a boat. I watched something, and then there was like, I don't know. I watched a lot of strange zombie movies as a kid. And so maybe it's just that, like, it didn't hit me really. I do agree, like, it's definitely worth a watch. Definitely good 80s horror movie. There just wasn't anything about it that grabbed me compared to the other movies when I was watching them. So for me, I had it in D like Robert did.
All right, so
STD.
STD.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Arth.
Maybe a better title would have been Bad Chemistry.
That comment before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 D's and an S. I think that'd put it like either at the top of C or the bottom of B.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it at the bottom of B for right now. Bump up Night of the Comet.
That's a win for Lego in both ways.
All right. So this next one is to Lego. This actually may be one of the most popular ones on this list. There's like 2 on here that I think are fairly commonly maybe mainstream. This would be one of them. This would be Reanimator.
Heck yes. One of my top 10 favorite movies. If you don't know what it's about, sit down. I'll explain it. Here we go. It's Frankenstein put through a blender of H.P. Lovecraft, put through another blender of Stuart Gordon, and then we get to watch this beautiful, beautiful legend before you, Jeffrey Combs. He doesn't chew every scene. No. He has a full course, 7-course meal, and then finishes off with a sundae that has every single topping on it. This masterpiece, this masterclass of cinema really is iconic. What isn't there to say about it? I mean, first of all, obviously I'm saying S. It's so fun. It's so, what the am I watching right now? Mm-hmm. Barbara Crampton exists in it. There's a weird doctor, and depending on if you watch the good cut or the bad cut, you either understand that hypnotize people or you have no idea what's happening throughout the film. There are people who have been reanimated, and you can take that to mean whatever you want. Oh man, this movie's so fun. I do love a Dan Kane, like our just legendary medical student himbo, just messing everything up.
Yep.
It's that age-old
definition of a himbo.
Yes. And his roommate, the wonderful man who wonders, what would the note say? Dan, cat dead, details later? One of the greatest lines in cinema. Love this film.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, are you frozen?
I think he's frozen.
Lego, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Robert, did you get reanimated? Oh no.
So they put his video on a loop, and
yeah, all right. It's such a good pose. Wait, hold on. You did such. I hope he heard what you said though, because that was so good. Robert, are you live? Are you alive? Robert needs the serum. Oh my god, how are we still live? Oh my god, it's gone.
No, he took himself out.
Look, I got this. Look, I have a line on my screen. Look, and I got this. Who needs?
So how do you feel about Reanimator?
I also love Reanimator. I agree with everything that you said. This is just great timing. I thought the visuals, like, I love The Thing. The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies. And it felt like I was taking another trip into The Thing with the special effects. Like, so creative. I watched is it Dead Meat on YouTube? Their coverage of it, talking about how they did all the special effects, like all the commentary, all the background. I thought it was fascinating. I felt like it was challenging the way they filmed it, and they succeeded. I thought just everything. Like, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was engaging. It hit all my targets of like funny, weird, like creative. And this is another one where like, what Lego said is perfect. And like, don't look up like how it ends or anything. Like, let yourself go on that journey of like what's about to happen. Oh my god, his power went out. Robert, are you about to be reanimated? Oh no. So yeah, I also had it in S tier. And I guess we can just talk about Reanimator until he gets back for the rest.
Oh, well, I say like so. The director Stuart Gordon also made with Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton From Beyond, which is another really fun film that has some of the most beautiful lighting in an 80s film I've ever seen. And then Brian Usna, he went on to direct the sequel, which also has some very beautiful lighting fixtures. And I think the sequel actually I kind of like maybe a little more almost. It's some of the acting, some of the behavior. Like when you ever watch a movie and you're like, why are you doing this?
Yes.
Every single scene. That's just Dan Kane. It's just, why are you doing this, Dr. Dan? Why?
Yeah.
Like how easily he gets talked into things too.
Robert, did you get reanimated?
Sort of.
Oh.
Ow. Yeah, I'm just sitting here and all of a sudden power all goes out. Like, what the hell?
It was good timing. Did you hear what Lego said?
I don't know.
Ah! Well, Lego said wonderful things. And we both had it in S tier.
Oh. Yeah.
I
really like Reanimator also. As evidence, if you watched our... we did the watch along of it on a fan's view. And like the second that like it was recommended, let's watch Reanimator, I was like, ooh, yeah, let's do that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. The silliness, the over the topness of it, all the acting, especially like Bob Gale, who is like a classically trained actor, and he comes in and does like a give her head joke.
Yeah.
Wow, this computer's taking forever to load.
We can talk about more Reanimator.
Yeah.
Do you know they use glow stick stuff to make their the serum?
I was actually trying to find stuff to like decorate to put up here because I don't have. Apparently, they don't make action figures of like Bloody Birthday or New Year's Evil or anything. Go figure. So I was trying to find something that would work in. Of course, all I found was like a can of cranberry sauce, which will come into play here in a little bit. As soon as I can get the computer up and running.
So I do think it's funny that the first person they reanimate in real life, the guy was like Arnold Schwarzenegger's body double. So that gives you like the indication of like the size of this human being. I'm like, no. I would pull it like Pet Sematary. Find me a poor little child. I'll reanimate them. That way, if it goes wrong,
find me a sick kid. Find me a sick kid. Yeah. Robert, did you rank it as S then?
Reanimator? Yes.
Yeah. SSS.
Yeah, so as soon as I can get back here.
Is Chris Hope? Did he do it?
No. Chris is doing a wedding.
Yeah, I just didn't know if he was back yet. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, anyways. So how's everyone's night? How's everyone think of the stream so far? They're coming to get you. Yeah, I see that.
I could open wine. We could do that.
Actually,
I would need a power drill to open the wine. I don't know if that's a good time. I don't have a wine opener.
It's been a while since I've had a good wine.
I've literally been opening it with a power drill.
I mean, that's probably good. I mean, Crispin Glover can't go off looking for a corkscrew. Right. Bad things happen.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about a part of Reanimator I thought was interesting, and Dead Meat talked about it, was like the very intense, I'm not going to spoil it, there's a very intense nude scene in it, and I thought it was interesting because they mentioned the actress has said since then that she felt supported by like everyone on the set, and like that she didn't feel pressured to do it. I just thought that was an interesting point because we always talk about, like 80s horror involves a lot of exploitation of women, or just, having boobs for the sake of having boobs in it. And I liked hearing that. Like, it felt refreshing. Oh God, he's got it. Maybe he's switching to the computer. Yeah, there we go. I thought it was refreshing that a woman on an 80s horror set said she felt safe there. For anyone who ends up watching it, is at all wondering about that.
Yeah, that was one of the cases, and Barbara Crampton has talked about this in different interviews, that was perfectly fine, and also that the actor himself felt very uncomfortable doing the scene.
Yeah.
So there was that in addition. But a movie we passed by, in Basket Case, I know quite a few, there's a very intense, I said it was a sexploitation film, there's a very intense scene in that, and a couple people actually quit the movie because they felt it was too intense. And the actors said it was fine, but that was kind of an interesting one.
In Basket Case.
Mm-hmm.
I have to remember what part that was.
Belial's doing a nasty thing.
Interesting.
Well, I found it quite memorable.
Yeah.
All right. I think I've got everything back up. Let's go.
Robert internally is probably having a panic attack. Externally, you're fine.
Yeah, that's what it looks like behind the scenes while Carl's turning on. It's Carl's fault. It's
Yeah.
Carl's fart. Carl's fault.
Yep.
So, I went ahead and put Reanimator in S since it seemed like we were all saying S anyway. So,
Yeah.
Look at you glowing green beauty.
yeah. Anyways, I think we've got everything back to normal. Everything's working again. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Still running this show, trying to. Anyways, yeah, not quite panicky. There was a time, like real quick out of the context of this, we were doing the Schmodown replays where we would like react to an episode of Schmodown with like maybe someone who was in that episode with us. We had I am completely blanking. Vinny Mancuso was joining us, and the entire apartment power went out, and so it was just stuck on him. Like we all fell out of the StreamYard, but the StreamYard was still going, much like it did when I fell out. And it was just Vinny Mancuso on screen. He's like, "Well, welcome to the Cinefanatics, hosted by Vinny It's the Vinny Mancuso show." It was so much fun, and when we finally got to meet him at that last spectacular that we were able to go to, we had so much fun just reminiscing about that. So yeah, apparently that happens periodically. So here's the benefit: if you get asked to be a guest star or host on this show, you may end up hosting the show yourself at some point. That was
the plan. Lego and I took you out, and this is now going to be a women-led horror channel. We're only going to talk about 80s horror.
Yeah, I knew it. I fucking knew it. Yeah. I knew getting you two together would be no good. No good at all.
We planned it from thousands of miles away.
Yeah. So we started with Lego on Reanimator. Moving on to another one of my dear favorites, but we're going to start with Torie on this one. And is also, out of all 18 movies that are on this list, this is the only one that my brother has also watched. It's famously known on the Cinefanatics channel because of its name. It is the one, the only, The Stuff.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
I love this.
I was wondering where it was going. How has Chris seen this? What did you get Chris to watch?
We did it as a watch along. I think we had like Tim Franco was watching it with us, so we had him in on the watch along. This really isn't like a gory movie. There's one like shot of like some weirdness, I believe with Chocolate Chip Charlie, but otherwise there's no. Yeah, Tim Franco's in the chat. Yes, but otherwise this is just a fun movie.
I, for some reason, didn't have as much fun with it. Sorry.
It's
every time I say that with these, because I feel like these are like super cool movies. Like, regardless of whatever, like, is an F or D or even C, it's like these are really cool movies. It's just, again, it's like something about it didn't click with me personally when we're talking about the rest of this list. What I look for in a movie, what interests me, what I think is fun. I thought the idea sounded really cool. It just, like, in execution for some reason didn't click with me as much. I don't think it was like weird enough for me. I don't know. Like,
How?
it was weird. It was
How is
weird.
that
But
possible?
some reason, like, and we'll get to a movie later on that I think was supposed to be weird that just like wasn't weird for me at all. I don't know. It didn't do it for me. It didn't do it. Okay. I would watch it again and see if my opinion changes, but right now I have it as a D. D.
Lego.
Well, I'll go ahead and just break your heart, Robert. I also have it in D.
Damn it.
You know, it's a movie about marketing. You know, with the right marketing, people can sell you anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also about how addicting ice cream is, which I feel on a deep fundamental level. Ice cream is the best. But this is about ice cream that eats you from the inside. And that's just sad.
Yeah.
But known is, or I hope I said his name right. He's very well known for having Michael Moriarty or whoever. Yep, that too, or him in his films. And this is the most boring man on screen. He has no on-screen presence. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but whenever I'm watching him, I just phase completely out. I would have needed a different actor, someone who could like be over the top, perhaps Jeffrey Combs, just someone with a little more gravitas, someone who's not, where is that man from? I'm going to say Louisiana, someone who's not the most Louisiana person, whether he is or isn't, I've ever seen on screen. It's painful.
Robert's crying on the
love
inside.
my
He went from panic to just sad.
Nice echo.
And now I hear an echo. Oh, Robert, you don't have your headphones on.
Yeah, I do.
What? Is it me? Lego, do you hear it?
No, but
yeah, I hear it.
I'm not good at that.
I didn't change it. I'm like, did I change something? I'm like, weird.
I'm not the person to ask about audio.
Okay, now I don't hear it. I don't know.
Yeah, I still hear it. Or it's not as bad. Yeah.
Did you change anything, Lego, with your volume or your position?
Yeah, now I think it's gone. I think it may have just been the system needing to catch up, or it just wasn't like syncing the audio quite right.
The stream is getting haunted.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And we didn't even do any ghost movies.
Yeah.
It's just happening.
As far as the stuff, the thing I like about this movie is just how outlandish it is. And I think most of it, what sells it is Michael Moriarty. He is like the most like stick in the mud, like boring type of personality. But every single thing he says is golden. This guy like speaks like in fluent quotes. Hi, my name's Mo. You know why they call me Mo? Because every time someone gives me some money, I want some Mo. Or when he's introducing himself to the businessmen on the boat, he's like, man, it's a room full of sweaty palms. And he goes to shake their hands. He's like, sweaty palm over here, sweaty palm over here. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the epitome of the classic line is the kid in this movie who's trying to fake everyone out that he's like eating the stuff, but he eats shaving cream instead. And then he gets rescued by Mo, and he pukes in the back seat of the car. And he's like, I'm sorry, I puked. I just ate some shaving cream. And Mo's classic line, well, sometimes you just got to eat some shaving cream in life. I probably butchered it, but I mean, it's a classic line still, even if I don't get it right. This movie's just insane. And yeah, the subtext of the consumerism in this is like heavily on the nose, but it's still funny. I just liked it. This is a movie I feel like if you didn't like it the first time, then what you need to do is crack open a bottle of wine or something and watch it again.
Some of these movies I feel like I want to watch again drunk.
Yeah.
Sure. Or high.
This is definitely one of those movies. Yeah. This is definitely one of those movies that you need to do that with, because the first time I watched it, I was like, this movie's just weird and slow and just, what's the point? And then I watched it again. I was like, oh my God, there, Garth's got it. Well, everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while. Yeah, there it is. Like, it's such a good line. Yeah, I love this movie. I have it as an A just because the other things I wanted to put in S were a little better, but yeah, I still have this as an A. So we got 2 Ds and an A, which would typically put this like in C.
Or C is thick.
Yeah, with 3 Cs.
Let's put it in D.
I would be willing to, like, let's put this. I would still say put it in C, but maybe bump like My Bloody Valentine down. I would actually probably bump down Bloody Birthday as well.
I would bump down New Year's whatever or
New Year's
Bloody
Evil.
Valentine over Bloody Birthday.
So just put this at the top of C?
No, like bump. I guess just bump Bloody Valentine down for the sake of it, and at the end, if we want to shift it, we can.
Okay.
If Lego's okay with that, I didn't mean to make it sound like I was
Okay.
taking over everything. Robert, can you check my private chat?
Yes, go.
Okay. I was like, I don't think I'm the first one next. I'll be right back, everyone. I gotta go pee.
Anyways, so we're gonna put the stuff. I don't know where that came from. While we said it like that, we just started saying it that way, and now I don't know of any other way to say.
You got
it.
a bit.
Yeah,
Run with it.
but yeah, like the fact that we got my brother to watch this is insane.
Is he adverse to like being scared, or more like, or is he more like okay with like ghost stuff, or because he doesn't like blood?
He doesn't like gore. And he doesn't like movies that like dabble too heavily in death. So like like Final Destination, he won't watch any of those. Even though the first movie really doesn't have that much gore in it, he just doesn't like it where death is like a major player, almost a character of the movie.
Okay.
It's just kind of like depressing to him, and I understand that. That makes sense, but yeah, like the stuff, not really death, but
silly. It's silly.
Yeah, it's a silly one. So we started. So that was the stuff. We started with Torie.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello.
Okay. So we'll move on to me, which is going to be Night of the Creeps.
Ooh.
So this is a Fred Dekker movie. Fred Dekker also responsible for Monster Squad. So this is one of his movies. But I feel like this is like a completely different beast than Monster Squad. Monster Squad is like almost like family friendly ish. Mm-hmm. This one's not. I do like. The thing I really enjoyed about Night of the Creeps is how character driven it is. Like the 2 guys that we meet at the beginning, just their personalities and how they interact was actually really interesting, and that's what hooked me in this when starting to watch it. And of course, you can't go wrong with Tom Atkins. This is a good Tom Atkins horror movie, which, I mean, I want someone to show me a bad Tom Atkins horror movie. Like, there's no such thing. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, phenomenal. One of the best Halloween movies, in my opinion. Especially when compared to recent Halloween movies. Anyways.
You're starting shit, Robert. You're starting shit.
Anyways, that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, I like how, like, interesting the characters of this movie are, especially the lead guys, the girl that the one dude's crushing on. Like, I really like. I thought it was fun. And then also the other thing I really liked was all the characters in this movie are all named after like horror icons. Like they're all named after like directors and actors and famous people in the horror world. I thought that was cool. And then this movie was the one that, this was the one that began with like that weird like 3D computer generated like aliens.
Mm-hmm.
the goofiest look of it. The aliens in that sequence look like the blue guys from Eiffel 65's Blue Daba D music video. Look almost with the exception that they're blue, they look almost exactly like that. That kind of quality of computer animation as well. So that was weird. And then I feel like this movie may be like a precursor to James Gunn's Slither.
Yes, I was just about to say, like, the little
involving
sluggies.
all the slugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, this was a fun movie. Again, it's a movie I just recently watched for the first time, so it may need require another rewatch for me. So I don't have it ranked high. I do have it as a D. But
That's my facial reaction to that one.
yeah, I know. Every time I say these, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't mean I don't like it. Like,
I get it.
I just need to watch it again. Maybe I'll appreciate it better, much like anyone who needs to rewatch the stuff. Anyways, Lego.
Okay, first
Tell me
and
why
foremost,
I'm wrong.
I put a nest here. I thought this movie was very charming. It's kind of goofy in a wonderfully 80s way. I really liked the monster idea where they're basically zombies, but they're zombies because they're being controlled by these sort of slug things. The kids are college age, but they're still doing a prom, which I don't understand, but I'll go with it. And Tom Atkins seemed like at first he was in an entirely different movie, but as the movie continues to go, then it kind of integrates more with his character. And I thought was done very well. His whole backstory is very interesting. The two friends that we follow in the beginning, I think, had great chemistry and story. I do agree this is very character-driven film, which I just tend to gravitate towards in terms of like what I enjoy watching. There's so many fun one-liners. If you watch closely in the bathroom scene, there's a bathroom scene. I get why so many horror movies have those. That's a vulnerable place, but like. There's a bathroom scene, and you can see the graffiti. They wrote "Go Monster Squad," which I think is a really fun little detail. Yeah, it's just a fun movie. It's a fun time. I have zero complaints about it. It's just weird, good 80s fun with Tom Atkins.
Wasn't this before Monster Squad too? Like they were just starting to do production
they had just
on
gotten,
Monster Squad.
They just gotten like, I don't know if it's like financial or script approval or whatever. They were just starting to go forward with making the movie.
So this movie is definitely like in the vein of the always be plugging that we seem to like here on Cinefanatics.
Given the plot of the film, that sounds like something else, but all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, Torie.
I really love this movie. I saw Slither when I was very young. And really liked it. I'm just like a sucker, like I've said like a couple times now. I love The Thing. I don't know if it's necessarily body horror, but it's like people who are not as they seem or are not human anymore. Like I loved what's the alien movie with the plant pods?
Invasion of Body Snatchers?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, my brain just completely went blank. Love like that kind of thing. Love like anything where people are taken over by something and they're no longer as they seem.
The Fly, Videodrome.
Yeah.
Almost
like
anything
that
by
mystery,
Cronenberg.
Yeah, of like what's going on and like who's infected or like what does the infection do and like it. And I really love like the mystery of it. And I mean, talk about like imagery. Like this movie, like the imagery is creepy. It's fascinating. It's like invoking. It's weird. Like the humor hits for me. I think the ending is great. I really enjoy it. The build up to it's great. So for me, I also have it in S tier.
Which ending? There's a couple of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah. So you have it in what tier?
S tier.
So 2 S's and a D. Which means this is probably going to go A. Probably right under Basket Case. All right. So stick it there. This is a fun one. Lego shopping mall.
Ooh, okay. So I actually put off watching this movie for a really long time because I just thought it was going to be another one of those man escapes from the mental institution and he goes on a killing spree in a mall, which is not something I normally would watch. But then I started it. I'm like, oh, it's robots
Killbots.
killing people in a mall. Okay, different thing entirely. And Dick Miller in it as Walter Paisley. So that already gives it 10 out of 10 stars for me. I'm all for Walter Paisley appearance. I mean, you have Barbara Crampton and Kelly
Maroney.
I don't know. Yes. She who was in
Night of the Comet.
Thank you. Night of the Comet. And this is actually the exact same mall that is in Night of the Comet, Sherman Oaks Galleria. A lot of movies are filmed there. I just think this movie's just fun. It's fun. It's got a great head explosion. Spoilers. I'm all for head explosion. It's I don't know. I feel like in the 80s with like the rise of technology, it was very common. Horror movies tend to like take things that are new and make you try to be afraid of them, I guess. And they were trying to do that. It's like, what if RoboCop was more of a horror movie? What if RoboCop was a slasher movie, basically? I think this is one of the most missed title opportunities. Like Chopping Mall, that title does the movie a disservice because it doesn't give you any indication of what the movie's actually about. I think originally they were going to call it Killbots, but they decided that title sucked, which I kind of agree with, but Chopping Mall is also not a great title. This poster doesn't indicate really what the movie is about. Yeah, I could definitely see why the movie kind of flopped and didn't get well known because like everything in terms of like the marketing just like really doesn't do the film service as to what you're actually going to get. Yeah, fun time. However, based on looking at this list, I mean, I put it probably in a low B.
Okay. Torie?
So this was the one I had mentioned earlier that like just wasn't weird to me in a way that I think it meant to be. Yeah, like I found it good or like entertaining, but it didn't feel as like 80s horror to me in some way. I don't know if it was like the technology aspect of it, or maybe it just like standing out from the others in a different way. It just didn't click for me as well as a lot of the other ones did. Like a lot of the imagery didn't really get me, and I don't know, like I didn't find it creepy. Like I don't know, I've never been really like had a robot thing. Like I didn't really find Terminator creepy. Like I don't find, I'm trying to think of other like robot movies. So yeah, I actually had it an F. And again, it's like worth a watch for sure. I get why it works for people. It just wasn't like what I'm afraid of. It didn't invoke on any of the fears I have or the things that I tend to enjoy in these kinds of movies.
All right. This one's so much fun. This is definitely like one out of all the movies on this list. I would say this is easily one of the horniest. Like, there's a lot of sex going on in this movie.
Yeah.
The thing I really like about the Killbots, they're both like at some points they're scary just because they're so like very one note, halt, who goes there, freeze type of thing, and then at some points they're just completely inept, like they just don't do anything. I like the range of kills on this, going from like they shoot lasers, so they could shoot a laser to essentially just tase you and you just drop to the floor, but you're perfectly fine, to shooting another laser and like Lego said, the head blows up. Mm-hmm. So it's a weird, like there's no continuity on exactly how they kill in this movie, but it's just strange. The dialogue is super, super cheesy. This this is another one of those that I also recommend. Go watch the Dead Meat Kill Count for it, because they dive into a lot more fun things on this. For example, a couple of the girls in this, they work at a mall restaurant, and they point out in the kill count, they point out the guy that's in the back that's like, waitress, more butter. I never paid attention to that guy until the kill count. Now I can't stop not paying attention to him whenever I watch this, because it's just so off the wall. Yeah, this movie's a B. I've got it as like a good solid B movie. So
B movie.
Yeah. So we got 2 B's and an F, which again would probably put it like in C.
I love that we have such differing opinions, though. Like, I feel like that is a lot of the joy of 80s horror too. Is it's like looking at critic reviews. Like, it's really hard to capture them with just like a critic review, because they are so different. And like, yeah, I just find it interesting.
So like it would go say to C. I just don't know where in C.
We could move down the stuff
and move my Bloody Valentine.
Hey, Vernon.
Thanks, Vernon. Beautiful people. And then there's Robert.
What you don't know in secret is my name is also Robert.
Whoa. Peels face off. We're all Robert.
Yeah, all of y'all are doing the same joke, PLD.
Came in with the same joke.
Thanks, y'all. I needed the self-esteem confidence boost today. Y'all are doing a bang-up job.
You got the confidence boost from, what was his name, Johnny?
Well, I mean, Robert, you can be 2 lovely and brilliant ladies as well.
I mean, I could, and it is 2022. Anything's possible almost nowadays, so.
Yep.
Anyways, is it to me next?
Yeah.
Yay! I get to talk about this one.
Oh no.
Blood Rage. So in general, outside of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is a fantastic Thanksgiving movie, this is the next best Thanksgiving movie ever made. Easily, bar none, hands down. Blood Rage is so good. The actor in this, Mark Soper, so basically the point of this movie is there's twin brothers. One of them is psychotic, the other one isn't. When they're a kid, the psychotic one does a murder in a movie drive-through, and then right after killing the people, quickly throws the knife to the non-killer and then blames him. And so the non-killer gets carted off to a mental facility for like decades, and the psycho killer one just plays it cool, and he's still out and about perfectly fine. Until we fast forward to where this movie primarily takes place. The innocent brother gets out of the mental facility, comes home, and everyone is looking for him because they think he's a killer. In the meantime, the killer brother starts killing people. Mm-hmm. And it all happens to take place around Thanksgiving. So yes, this is a Thanksgiving movie. Anyways, it's just so much fun, especially because the Mark Soper, the guy who's playing the twin brothers, it's one guy and he's doing a dual role, and he does so well at this. Like he has created 2 very distinct personalities for these brothers.
He walked so Parent Trap could run.
Well, the original Parent Trap still came before this.
That was actually
I'm talking about the Lindsay Lohan one.
Yeah, well, there was the older one was Haley Mills, but same idea. Haley Mills was playing 2 different sisters, like Lindsay Lohan was also playing 2 different sisters.
I guess we want to pretend like real twins don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's not hire real twins. Let's just hire one person and make them do double, and we'll still pay them as one actor. So,
And we'll take longer filming.
PLD's like, please move basket case higher. I would like to. I have it in S, so please don't blame me on Twitter tomorrow, PLD. Thank you. Blood Rage, though, like, just...
I had it A.
This is one where, like, the story is good. It's a solid story. The acting, in some places, namely their mom is, like, cuckoo. She's just nuts. And, like...
She's going through it.
Yeah,
she's eating in the no spoiler, but she just like eats food on the refrigerator in front of the refrigerator. I'm like, yo.
Or then she's like randomly calling people. She's trying to call people specifically, but she ends up dialing the wrong number and then sits there and has a conversation with the wrong number, like pouring her soul out to these random strangers. And it's so weird because she's also like 40, 50 years old or so, but she's got like little pigtails, like she's 12 years old again type of thing. It's just really weird and kind of like unsettling, like how she acts and looks throughout this movie. But it adds to the weirdness. And the sex scenes in this movie are also just completely off the wall or on the pool diving board. It's just really strange. And it all is encapsulated by one of the greatest lines ever in a horror movie. The reason that this is what... Oh, we lost...
Lego was like, no.
Lego's time. The reason that I've got this next to me, because this is cranberry sauce. Mm-hmm. One of the best parts of this movie is the killer brother constantly walking around when seeing blood. He always has to commentate saying, oh, it's not cranberry sauce. Like, no. It's the greatest line. He spends like one whole scene that's like 5 minutes long, like, it's not cranberry sauce. It's definitely not cranberry sauce. Nope. Still not cranberry sauce. And it's so bonkers, but it's good. I love Blood Rage. I have this. I do have it as a B, though. I want it to be higher. I wish it could be higher, but I mean...
Yeah, I love this movie. Yeah, the humor, the weird. I mean, this is weird. This is a weird movie. Like, from the get, I think it's like 5 minutes in is when... I mean, you talked about it already, but the kill happens with the brother. Yeah. When he's a kid. And it's like, you're like, was that necessary? I feel like you wanted to do that, like, from the jump. And yeah, like, I feel like the mom is interesting because she could just be weird, but I think it's like also what I was thinking about is like the pressures on women, especially back in the 80s, especially like it was still very prevalent of like the housewife kind of thing. And like your duty is like to maintain a household, like a stable household that like its image is supposed to be pristine. And, you know, her son's already in the mental hospital. So like that kind of threw her off. And like the judgment of that you would get from neighbors and things like that. But now also like the Thanksgiving dinner with like people who aren't even in their family, like all this shit is happening. And yeah, like it does kind of make sense. It's like her trying to like fit the image of the perfect wife and the perfect mother while also everything is just falling to shit around her. And she just is like losing her mind because there's no way for her to fit in what's going on. And I really like that. I found it interesting. It's creepy. And yeah, again, like talk about like imagery and ending. I thought the ending was great. I thought the imagery was great. I thought it was funny. And so I had it in S tier. This was my last S tier movie.
Lego.
Oh, I deeply, deeply, deeply love this movie. I think it's one of those movies that's very sad. It's a slasher movie, but the character and the dramatics of the family is very sad. It's very of its time in certain aspects, and that's kind of unfortunate. I think that it actually would be a fun thing to remake. With the mother, yeah, she definitely gave off a vibe of like trying to be that like 1960s housewife. Although I also kind of felt like her relationship with one of the twins gave off a very Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker vibe that added kind of a level of it was like a subtle level of like uncomfortableness that kind of permeated the film, and particularly regarding like poor freaking Todd. The whole movie, I'm just like, poor Todd. This poor kid. This poor guy. Yeah, it's just it's a good little movie. I would recommend watching it. Thanksgiving's just around the corner. Why not? Give it a go. Give it a try. I guess I would put it in S tier. Yeah.
As someone who has a shit family, I will be watching this on Thanksgiving.
It's great. So I got B. It's going to go in A. And there's 2 S's. This is probably going to go in the top of A, actually. So I believe we rated Basket Case pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had it at A.
Basket Case?
Yeah.
I had it in S. Lego, do you know where you had it?
I had it really low.
Okay, so Blood Rage is going to go above Basket Case then. As much as I would love to basket, and I'm sorry, PLD, but yeah.
Our A is solid. Our A is honestly as solid to me as our S. Like those 6 to me are like really good.
God, Blood Rage is so good.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, most all of these movies are available to watch for free on Tubi. Again, not sponsoring, obviously. But yeah, they're like when putting together this list, I was actually really happy that most all of these movies were easily available on Tubi. Granted, you have commercials, but it's not edited for any reason, so yeah.
I couldn't imagine watching almost any of these movies on like an edited for TV version.
Yeah, they wouldn't be fun. You're taking out all the good parts. Whether it's the sex or the practical gore. Yeah. You're left with hearing Michael Moriarty talk about sweaty palms, and that's it.
Now that's what should be edited out.
That's so funny.
Right.
Lego, this one's to you, and I know you're going to be happy to get this one to start off with this. Video Dead.
This, like, I saw the poster and I was like, well, now I gotta watch it, of course. It's a kind of a simple story, a mistaken package that was meant to go, to a government facility, gets dropped off at these teenagers' house because these teenagers are just living alone, because that's how you do. And apparently when you turn the TV on, there's a zombie movie playing. All right, that sounds great, right? But no. The zombies come out of the TV and they go after you. And they don't want to eat you. They just want to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
It's intimidating. It's wrong. And they give the zombie a chainsaw. Spoiler for that part. And then there's a zombie. Well, not a zombie hunter. There's a guy who comes to try to help a situation. Much more shenanigans ensue. Like, they've killed half the neighborhood. Things are going downhill. It's unfortunate. And then we cap off at the end where this girl realizes that if she is smiling and kind of placates these, like, zombie creatures, then they, like, calm down and they won't kill her, which is, wow, that's, like, I can't imagine how traumatic that is. But it's also kind of realistic for, allegory for a lot of, very unfortunately, like, certain people's situations, which, I don't know. Like, I don't think they were trying to go that deep, but it ended up going there for me. I thought the makeup effects look so great. The fact that this movie primarily takes place in the day, I think is fun, because a lot of times you just get, like, nighttime, particularly like zombie movies and stuff like that, where you don't get to see the makeup as well. I thought that they did a lot of good effects for the time in terms of having, like, people coming out of the TV and whatnot. It definitely held my interest throughout the whole time. I really enjoyed the film. And, I mean, I do like Terrorvision more, but this is a fun TV horror movie. So I would put it, I guess, based on this list, in middle of B.
Torie?
I enjoyed the imagery of this movie a lot. I felt like the story was fun. Honestly, the imagery, I think, is just like what stuck out to me as just like creepy and interesting and creative. I do think I have a weird thing against zombie movies still again, though. I mean, this was higher than a lot of the other ones on here for me. I had it at C. Honestly, simply because a lot of my S, B, and A were ones I just like really liked and would watch again tonight. This one was more like, again, like I would watch it again. It just wouldn't be before the ones I have above it. So I had this as C. I had this as like right in the middle.
Okay. So I like the idea of this movie that the zombies come out of the TV. That was a great idea. And like some of the acting in it is one of those that's like cheesy, but it still works in the context of the whole movie. Yeah, I do like that this takes place during the day, and some of the kills, specifically with the chainsaw, pretty satisfactory. Again, given how low budget this is. I feel like this is the type of movie that I would say would be like shot on a phone type of situation. I know, granted, we actually have phones now capable of shooting pretty like cinematic quality type movies. So I know it's a weird comparison, but that's what I feel like this movie was back then. It was someone who just like found their parents' camera and threw together a movie real quick. That's how it kind of like looks and feels. I definitely want to say probably most of the budget for this movie was probably dedicated to the artwork here for like the cover or the poster, because that's amazing. That's the thing with like a lot of these 80s movies, the cover, the posters all look phenomenal, and then you put the movie in and you're like, that's not what I was thinking this was going to look like.
No, yeah.
Specifically looking at that mutant movie again. It's not what that
posters
movie...
were such a huge selling point, though. Like, it makes sense. Like,
yeah.
the posters on the bedroom wall are such an 80s
look
thing.
at it now. Like, your posters to movies now are very much more in line with what the movie is actually about or selling. The posters back then are like, let's just get as crazy as we can with the poster. Who cares if it matches the tone of the movie?
So back then, we were hitting like the rise of video stores, like rental stores, where they were making a lot of money with that. So the artwork wasn't just like a selling point. Like, that's how you got your movie rented. And I believe Video Dead was a straight-to-video horror movie, which we didn't really start getting until kind of the mid-'80s. And there are a lot of really good ones. I think In Search of Darkness 3 is focusing on straight-to-video horror, which I think is pretty interesting. Also, there's a really great documentary on the history of movie posters. I think it's just called 24 by 36. You could find for free on YouTube. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, it is a great poster.
Yeah.
You've got all the knowledge.
So that being said, Video Dead is, I believe it's probably the first one that I'm ranking F. Sorry, Lego. So we got a B, C, and an F, which means this is either at the top of D or probably here at the bottom of C.
I'd go top D.
All right.
He's working.
Moving things along.
I like when you do that. I'm always like, are you okay?
Oh, one thing we didn't get to say about Blood Rage is Ted Raimi's cameo.
Yes, when I first saw it.
At the drive-in at the beginning, he has a cameo. He's in the men's restroom selling condoms. But he does it like in the like creepy guy in a trench coat way. Like, he holds open the trench coat and there's like a display of condoms pinned to the inside of his coat.
That's not how you buy your condoms?
No.
Oh.
I go to the store and proudly buy, like, guess what?
That's
I'm not
weird,
going to
Robert.
ever use these.
That's really weird.
But yeah, I always thought that was funny. Like, why is Ted Raimi like a black market condom salesman in the bathroom of a drive-in?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was a thing. Anyways, so on to Torie, who will probably have fun with this one. This is the other movie I would say is probably tied with Reanimator as the most mainstream horror movie on this list.
Ooh.
Mainly because they got like some big budget video game coming out pretty soon. That would be the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Boom, boom, boom.
Torie.
Yeah. This was one I put on there. I mean, the title. Like, what are we... It knows what it is. It's not selling us anything different. You get what you get, all right? And I remember this movie because, like, it's been on Netflix, I feel like, forever. I feel like it was on Netflix forever. Even when Netflix used to do, like, the mail to your house thing. I don't even know if they still do, but I feel like that's how this movie got bigger, was, like, it was on Netflix, and people were like, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What are we doing? And it just has a capture title, and it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, it's, again, one of those, you're just like, I feel like it's less so one of those where when someone walks into the room, they're like, what's going on? Because it has been more mainstream, so people are like, oh, like, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But, like, the scene where, like, the clown rolls up on his bike to, like, the group of, like, people hanging out or whatever, and the guy's like, oh, can I honk your horn? This isn't really a spoiler, sorry. I mean, there's Killer Clowns from Outer Space, that's the spoiler. And the guy, like, destroys the clown's bike, and the clown just, like,
punches his head off.
Punches his head off? Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, get high, have a good time with this movie, put it on, enjoy yourself, all right? I think it's pretty short, too. Like, I don't think it's that long. Enjoy yourself.
Much to this.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. I actually had this in A because it would have been an S for me, but I had never seen like Reanimator, and I ended up like Sleepaway Camp. When I thought about it, I just like wanted it in S more, and Blood Rage I just liked a lot more. So it ended up being an A, but it would be a high A for me. I already like all the movies in A a lot, so I don't know, but I had it in A.
Yeah, so this was a movie, the first time I watched it, I thought it was like just too far out there, so I didn't finish it. And then, of course, because it was on the list for this, I had to sit through it, and I'm kind of glad I did. This was it's enjoyable, it's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. You were talking about the clown on the bike. The one I think of is the shadow puppet clown.
Yeah.
Doing the shadow puppets for the people at the bus station.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stupid, but like insanely stupid.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun. This is the Kyoto brothers, like their prime work. So yeah, I don't remember what I had written down. I love the fact that they're aliens, but they're clowns, and all of their tech and everything just so happens to be what us Earthlings associate with clowns.
Yeah.
Like they kidnap people and put them in cotton candy. Just so happens to be cotton candy that they get wrapped in. So like that was
because the
really
clowns
weird.
here are really just aliens, Robert.
Yeah,
That's
They
true.
infiltrated. Yeah, they infiltrated.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, probably. That makes sense.
He is a killer clown from outer space.
Yeah.
Facts.
I hear the younger brother is home now. Anyways, yeah, it took me a little bit to get through it. I sat through it. Glad I did. The characters, especially the two guys running the ice cream truck, so good.
The other actors like sell this. I'm sorry. Like
Yeah.
like when he rolls up on the bike, it's like, who's that actor that antagonizes him? I recognized him.
The guy who gets his head knocked off?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But like I recognize him, but it's like, yeah, they're like selling it. They're like, oh, can I honk your horn? Like they're there. They're there for it.
I have this as a C movie. But I would definitely agree with like Torie. This is one that you need to get a group of friends. Y'all all get inebriated in some form or fashion and enjoy the hell out of it. because that's what this movie is meant for.
Yeah.
Lego.
All right. Well, just to spark a conversation about age differences, I remember going to my local video store as a youth. And one of the guys who worked there would always give me recommendations. He recommended this, took it home, watched it, absolutely freaking loved it. Grew up with this movie. It's such a fun time. I think it's a great movie that it is really funny. It's not very scary. It's definitely something that I would call like introductory horror. If like you want to like let your kid watch a horror movie.
Chris could watch this.
I love the song. Once again, if you got a song that has the title of the movie in the chorus, it does a lot for me. The song is just very, very fun. The Kyoto brothers did do the makeup and stuff with this, but they actually also wrote and directed it as well. So I think that's why it comes through as being just, it's like Critters, but more.
Yeah.
And goofier. And they thought they got a theme with clowns and they stuck to the theme no matter how ridiculous it got. There are so many fun little moments. It's just the sentient popcorn. Come on. Yep. Lovely. Such a fun time. I would probably put this, based on what we already have going on, I'd put it in A, but I don't want to knock Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
Well, right now it's looking very nicely at that big empty spot in B, because we got 1A and 1C.
I guess that's where it goes.
It's hard. This looks hard. I feel like I'm picking my favorite kid, and we have 18 kids.
Yeah.
And it's getting real hard. You know, there's some that I'm just like, whatever. And then, like, there's a lot that I'm like, no, I really like you. It's just compared to the others.
Yeah.
Now you're the mom trying to choose between Terry and Todd.
Yeah, I'm like, God.
It's not cranberry sauce. I want to go back to doing just like a franchise or an actor, because that opens it back up to, very obviously there's going to be some bad movies. Like when we did the tier ranking of Batman, obviously Batman and Robin straight to F. It's right there for you. Like everyone agrees that's just an F tier movie. Let's throw it in F. Like I want to go back to that. These types we're picking movies based off of an idea, but not from an actual franchise or a person. That's what's leaving it open to, man, it just sucks. I really love that movie. I don't want to put it in F. So that being said, does this actually go into that empty spot, or do we want to move stuff around?
I think it's okay in the top B.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. So that one started with Torie.
Yes.
So this one's going to go to me. This is going to be another one I have just recently watched for the first time for this. That is Waxwork. For Waxwork, I feel like this movie seems to be like it's made up of multiple movies. This could have actually been more of like an anthology type of movie, with the framing device being this waxwork business building that they go to, because each time, basically this is I don't even know how to describe this, a house of wax, like a Madame Tussauds type of establishment, opens up in a neighborhood. It's like a random house in a neighborhood that they have these wax displays on. It's run by, is it David Warner?
Yeah, I think so.
That's running that? Yeah, David Warner is running this wax establishment, and these kids go in and they see different vignettes of different like horror type icons, like a Wolfman or the Marquis de Sade, vampire. Yeah. So they accidentally fall into the display, and then they are sucked into a world that display is from. Like the first one, the kid goes into a world with the Wolfman, who's played by John Rhys Davies, I believe, Gimli. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a couple of big names in this movie. Zach Gilligan is like the lead guy, He filmed this in between the two Gremlins movies, so kind of a weird the names that they get for this. Yeah. So I feel like those little vignettes, when they fall into these wax vignettes, those could have been like their own like little separate story, making the framing device like the reason why they fall into that, and it's all revealed in the end. I thought that would have been like a really good way for this to go. Otherwise, I mean, you've got basically the House of Wax horror movie meets like voodoo cult type of situation. There's some good stuff in this movie. It's just like I just had a hard time connecting with it once it got like a little too weird, and the vignettes pull you out of like the main story of the movie. This one is one of my Fs as well. Sorry.
It's okay.
Lego.
Yeah, I concur with the F. This, I could tell that they wanted to tell kind of like different styles of horror films with these sort of vignettes that they have. And I just felt like the whole thing really fell flat for me. I kind of wish that they just had a bunch of these teenagers or young 20s go to the wax museum and then maybe like get locked there at night and then have all of them come to life at night, kind of a Night of the Museum, but like a horror version. I think that would have been at least a little more interesting than to have them just go off separately and encounter these things on their own, which just let's split the gang up. Okay, Scooby-Doo. I don't know. It kind of pulls and removes attention for me. But they did have Dana Ashbrook, aka Bobby Briggs, my Twin Peaks boo. Mm-hmm. So I rated up a little bit more for that because it is a great cast. But overall, I just think that they maybe should have thought through the script a little more. So yeah, it's a F for me.
Wasn't this was the guy who also did Hellraiser 3?
The one where they're in LA?
Yeah. Yeah, Anthony Hickox. Yeah, he directed this, so yeah. Torie.
I'm going to say something that's going to offend a few people, okay? It's going to be a little controversial. There are some movies in this world that I like, that I think are really good background movies. Okay? And that is not a diss, all right? I think this is a perfect, like when I think of the 80s, if I could go back in time and make out with a lovely man or a woman in a car and be at the drive-in, I'd want this playing. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like one of those, like, I agree with you. The plot's dry. There's a lot going on. If you watch it like as a background thing, which is how I appreciate it, I think it just accomplishes an aesthetic I really like. Like, it's just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I want it to be on at a bar I walk into in the background. Like, I want it to be on at the drive-in when I'm making out with someone that, like, I can kind of pay attention to and pop back in every now and then and know what's going on. So is it at like, the top of my list? No. Dude, I really like it and think it's, like, worthy of watching? Yeah. I think the cast is really great. I think it has a lot of fun horror tropes. I think it would be great to have on in the background while you're doing something. Like, writing a little paper, doing some work. Like, I don't think it's necessarily one I would, like, sit and watch, like serious watch and, like, make sure my phone's off and whatnot. I think it just really accomplishes, like, a Halloween night. Like, you're having a party, you put this on in the background. So for that, I have it at C. I put it on the list. I would get it going lower. We could put it in F. I just think take me as you will. I think the reason I said it's controversial is because some people might say, like, it's not a good movie if you think it has to be on in the background or at a drive-in. And I'm like, I hear you, but some movies are really great. I don't know, just like as the aesthetic and a mood setter. And I think that's how I enjoy some of them. So that's how I enjoy this one. So I'd be fine with putting it in an F, but I had it at C personally.
Okay, so that's 2 Fs and a C.
Yeah.
Which means it would take probably the place of My Bloody Valentine. It would bump My Bloody Valentine down to F. So are we okay with Waxwork being higher than My Bloody Valentine?
You could put it in F. I mean, I'm fine with it. If y'all both had it in F,
just put it in F.
I just think if you're making out with someone at the drive-in and you ever get to choose the movie, put it on. No? Also, welcome Chris Adams.
Yes. Also, before we move on to the next one, we did get a Streamlabs in from Fanboy227 calling this S-tier entertainment. Well, thank you, Fanboy227. We appreciate you being here and evaluating this as S-tier entertainment.
Wow. Love.
I think that was mostly just because I fell out of it. So, moving on to the next one. So we're going with Lego first on this.
Sure.
This would be Brain Damage.
Oh, I'm so happy I got first. S tier, let's go. Once again, Frank Henenlotter, you beautiful, beautiful man, you giving us this dirty New York vibe, this like wonderful analogy for like drug addiction. I just simply I don't know the actor's name, who's the main character, whose name's Brian, which I think is hats off. Love it. He wakes up to find this, I guess, entity, we'll call it, named Aylmer, not Elmer, Aylmer, attached to his back and is, I don't know how to describe what he does. He basically can insert a needle into Brian's, I guess, going into like his brain, and it gets him high. Like, it's very pleasurable to him. And Aylmer asks in return that, Brian helps him get some brains. We all got to eat. He wants brains. This seems doable. And basically, Brian is left to decide, is allowing other people to die so that he can, not be in pain and have all this like pleasure that Aylmer gives him worth it. And that's the movie. It's just fun watching this poor guy, Brian, kind of descend into like addiction and madness so rapidly, and his family and girlfriend / ex-girlfriend reacting to this and unsure of what to do and if he needs help or what kind of help it is that he needs, but also then his brother and his girlfriend. It gets very entangled. I thought the acting and the script were just really great. I think it's a really fun but also kind of sad film. And I thought all the visuals are really, really the story really brings you in, and how it's filmed really keeps you there and keeps you captivated. So yeah, really, really, truly love Brain Damage. I would actually recommend this over even Basket Case, even though I know that's Frank Henenlotter's most well-known film. And it does have an appearance of Belial and his brother.
In the worst wig ever. It's terrible.
I don't know. I've seen some worse wigs.
Yeah.
It just looks bad on him. You're like, that's definitely not the way Dwayne's hair looked. What were you ranking this?
S.
S. Okay. Torie.
I love this movie. It is so up my alley. I just would like to comment, this is not a spoiler, but Aylmer's voice.
It's so good. Hi, Brian.
You need to watch the movie, okay? And you need to hear it, and then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Hi, Brian.
All
you
you
take
need.
me for a walk?
Like the way he talks, like the cadence. I don't know how to tell. I don't know what to tell
It's okay, Brian. Just put me on the back of your neck and everything will be okay.
Yeah. He's just chill. And that's what Lego was saying, like the whole drug addiction thing, it really is like it's basically his own brain talking to him, Because like when you're addicted to drugs, like I'm a psychology major, so I know, because I don't know everything. But like the mechanism of like, it's just like a simple urge. It's like the urge of this feels really good and it takes my pain away. And your brain wants it. And that's why it's so hard to break out of it. Is like your body and your brain want it. And you have to somehow figure out how to be like, sorry, no, we're going to be in pain for a while because that's the right thing to do. And we're going to get out of this. Like, it just is a really weirdly, like, pretty metaphor. That's the word. Like, it just is very intriguing and interesting and entertaining and weird. And I had it in A tier simply because, again, like my S tiers like are just ones that are just my go-to. But we could put it in S. Why not? Why not?
Okay.
You're making a face, Robert.
I know.
I'm afraid. Aylmer. Think of Aylmer.
So I've seen this movie twice. I did rewatch it again specifically for this. And I do like it. I will easily say I'm a Frank Henenlotter fan. I still need to go watch Frankenhooker because I haven't seen that yet. And if it's anything like Brain Damage or Basket Case, I'm probably going to like it. Brain Damage is a good movie. I am one of those. I will speak the holy word of Basket Case to anyone who will listen. I love Basket Case, so I don't feel like this is as good. I understand like the comparisons to drug addiction, and I think this movie does a very good job at that. Very, very good. Problem is those kinds of movies, kind of like Requiem for a Dream, it's not entertaining subject material. I know it's subject material that people need to see, they need to understand, because like, especially in a visual medium like a movie, that's how you get people like someone like me who's never done hard drugs. I've never done anything more than like marijuana, and that's about it.
That's a hard drug, Robert.
It's a hard drug. Well, I am in Texas, so I mean, that makes sense. Anyways, beside the point. This isn't supposed to be political. It's one of those things that, like, seeing people go through that is what would bring me down emotionally, and it's very depressing looking. I think the movie does a very good job of it. It's right on the nose with its message, but it's just not fun for me to watch. Even though I did enjoy how the movie was made and the message and everything, I do have this as one of my Fs also, but I get why everyone likes it.
SSF, is that where we have it right now?
Yeah, we've got two S's and an F. This is gonna be a little weird. So I'm thinking so an S and an F would put this between B and C. Two S's, of course, is gonna favor the higher up. That would actually probably put it either, I would say, high B or low A. The question with that is, what direction does everything else go? Do we want to bump stuff up? Which I'm actually okay if we want to bump upwards, because I could see Blood Rage, Basket Case heading closer to like an S tier for this.
I'd rather do that personally.
Yeah.
So I would say let's move Sleepaway Camp over and bump up Blood Rage.
I'm just writing nonsense, by the way, in case you think I'm taking serious notes.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, if I had known, if I was still like trying to get like recommendations, and I still actually am, if I'm trying to get recommendations for good like 80s horror movies, because there's so many, as we said at the beginning of this, there's so many indies 80 horror movies that like anyone who had access to a camera was like, well, I could make one of those, and they did. That it's kind of hard to weed out, like, what are the really good ones from, like, just, let's say, just flat out terrible. And it's kind of hard, again, as we had also said, when you're just looking at the cover, because the covers, posters, everything look phenomenal. So Yeah, if I saw that someone was doing a show like this online, I would be there like in a heartbeat just to see what kind of recommendations people are recommending. So we said what, 2 S's and an F. So you put it at the end of A.
I mean, I like that.
I have a feeling this is one that we're probably going to revisit at the end here.
Yeah.
Okay, we are down to the last two.
And they're both about cops.
Yeah, they're both about cops, so this is all kinds of funny. So we're starting with Torie.
With which one?
This one's going to be Maniac Cop.
Maniac Cop. Okay. I'd like to start my very non-political opinion of cops by saying "fuck the police." I would then like to say,
Yo, Dre, I got something to say.
"Yo, Dre." My opinion is not sponsored or what's the word? A representative of the Cinefanatics.
Or NWA in this point.
Or NWA. I found that this was just like a realistic movie. I don't know. Not to go off on an anti-cop thing right now.
It is
But it
now.
was like a lot of the imagery. Yeah, I'm like, we've seen videos of this. So like it wasn't really, it honestly just like put me in a mood. Whereas like with 80s horror, like I look for like an upbeat, you know, like I look for a bit of like a rock and roll, like, ooh, like we're watching a movie and like we're gonna have a fun time and it's gonna be weird and it's gonna be fun. And this one, it was just like, yeah, like it just evoked a lot of imagery in my head of like recent, you know, events and just like historically, just, you know, cops beating the shit out of people. So I personally just couldn't enjoy it because of that. I'm not saying that anyone who does enjoy it like disagrees with the cop thing or anything. It's nothing like that. It's just like my personal experience with it was just I didn't have a fun time. So I had it at F because compared to the other movies on this list, I just wouldn't really watch it again. I think it's still worth a watch for people. But it just compared to the other ones, it didn't click with me in that way, and I didn't find it like fun, truthfully. So, not representative of the Cinefanatics.
So I had watched this before, and like for some reason I wasn't a fan of it. I rewatched it right before this, and I liked it a lot more on the second watch. This is I feel like this is more of like a straightforward like police drama.
Yeah,
mystery than it is like a horror movie per se. This was more in the line of like Dirty Harry than it is horror. Even though this is like technically kind of a somewhat spin-off of director William Lustig's Maniac. So he did Maniac, and then this is Maniac Cop.
Is that where the SpongeBob episode came from?
Possibly.
Or he's like a cop and he's like, the maniacs in the mailbox. Someone in the chat about
that might just be like a general phrase. This doesn't actually have anything to do with Maniac. It's just still using that same name and kind of the same idea ish that it's a person that's going crazy, basically. This one again is more straightforward as to the reason why it's a guy seeking vengeance, basically. Cut and dry. Let's see. I another movie that has a great performance by Tom Atkins. Like I feel like that's like Tom Atkins is like the theme of the show tonight here.
The 80s horror daddy.
Pretty much one of. And then I also love. Speaking of the actors, you've got 2 actors in this movie that are known for being referred to as the Chin. You've got Bruce Campbell, always a pleasure, and does fantastic in this movie, especially because if you're only used to him as Ash and like that zany character, this is very straightforward for him to play. And then, of course, you got Robert Zadar, who does have a pronounced chin due to, I think it was like cherubism.
Yeah.
So he's got a physical deformity that causes like a upper chin. If you look up pictures of him, you can definitely see how he looks. Which, first of all, was great because they didn't use any prosthetics on him. Like, this is like his actual face. So he does play villains or henchmen because of that look. He's got a very big, brooding performance. And he's very good at it. He knows his lane. He stays in it, and he excels at it beyond belief. So, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I did have this as a C, though. Just, again, a lot of other movies up here I like a lot more. Lego.
Okay, this movie has everything. You're opening with Tom Atkins as your main police officer, but then he gets killed off or something, I guess. He leaves the movie. Then it has a double chin, whereas you have Robert Zadar versus Bruce Campbell. I will now stop doing this stuff on. But yeah, this movie, I actually agree a lot with what Torie was saying in that it just seemed too real at points where you have this like very this cop being kind of a douche, and then there's all this other corruption going on, and then people are blaming other people for things, and you find out this other person's doing this other thing, and it's really more of a kind of a procedural, like, not whodunit per se, because we know who's doing it, but it's why, and we need, someone gets falsely accused, so they have to like try to prove that, you know, they're innocent, the other person who is the actual killer is the killer because of some other things. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd probably put this movie in a C, but I'm just really glad I didn't have to rewatch Maniac because I really don't like that movie.
You forgot to add Roman J. Israel Esquire to your Stefan gag. So we got 2 C's and an F. So either, probably like high D. So we're still moving My Bloody Valentine down. Everything has to move down now because we have no other space.
It's a thick list.
I mean, I'm actually just going to go ahead and move the room over here. This is a stack list. Again, like I said, like I'd rather go back to doing a franchise. Where like the next marquee we're doing at the end of this month, we're not going to be doing a marquee next Friday. It's the Friday after. That one is sticking to a specific topic. So there is going to be some bad movies in that. Some movies.
Okay, Robert, but all of the Beethoven movies are equally good.
That's true. Or Air Bud. If we ever do Air Bud.
Yeah.
So what if the Air Buddies went to space? It was a fun story.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. I'll talk about what the next marquee is here in a little bit once we're done with this one.
I wonder what it is.
Well, spoilers. Torie will also be a part of that one because it was.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah, it was Torie's.
If you don't like me, sucks. Sorry.
Yeah. It was Torie's suggestion, and what was it like? The second you said, I was like, "Yeah, let's do that."
Yeah, I was like, we should have done this last year, but like, yeah, it's way up my alley.
Okay, so we started with Torie, so we're ending with me on Dead Heat. This was one that I did not really know. I think I've heard of it before, but I didn't know of it before we did this. Lego, this was one of your recommendations, right? I believe. I think so. This is another one, kind of like Maniac Cop. I don't really feel this is that much of a horror movie. It has like some horror movie aspects, especially at the very end, the stuff that involves like that lightning thing in the picture here. Otherwise, this feels like Lethal Weapon with zombies. It is a buddy cop movie with zombies. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love both of the actors in this. Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo, both are phenomenal in this. Like how they didn't get nominated for Oscars for this work, I have no idea. Well, actually, I do know why, but This movie was really good. So the simple version of what this movie's about, these two are cops, detectives. They're trying to figure out how a string of bank robbers who are apparently dead have come back to life, are robbing banks. They go to investigate it. One of them accidentally gets killed, spoilers, and comes back as well. And so he's a zombie cop. He is dead and still he's in the process of like dying again or being permanently dead throughout the course of this movie, so they need to hurry up and solve what's actually going here to see if they could save him, or at the very least get it solved before he actually dies. It's a great idea. This is definitely one of those, like, I don't know who came up with this idea, but I want to hear the story of how. This is like the Emmett L. Brown just like fell off his toilet while trying to change a light bulb type of idea. It's so much fun. The other fun thing I liked about this is it was directed by Mark Goldblatt, who only directed one other movie, and that was Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher. Oh, Tori's time to go. Everyone's taking their turns jumping out of the stream tonight.
Internet.
Yeah.
Does things.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. I think it was a great recommendation for being on this list. I have this F. No. I have this as a C tier.
Well, I have it as an F. I do like it, and I would recommend it. It's just kind of compared to like all the other movies, I just kind of like them more.
It was my turn, I guess. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the exact joke that we made the second you jumped out. Okay, so I have this as C. Lego, you're saying F?
Yeah, I think it's a really fun movie. I really like the idea. I'm not a big fan of Treat Williams, or is it Joe Piscopo?
Joe Piscopo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe Piscopo. I don't know. I think I would have maybe preferred the film if they were just different people. Like if this movie maybe could have had like, I don't know, like pick Dan Aykroyd and like Bill Murray and then just be goofy. Like I think that would have made it like significantly better. Like these two they were playing it serious, and I feel like the movie would have been dramatically improved if it wasn't taken so seriously. Or if you had someone who was, I don't know. And it's also a movie with Vincent Price, so shout out to Vincent Price. So you gotta give it a watch for that. It's a fun idea. Could have been a better execution. Again, would recommend, but I would put it in F. Just because of all the other movies are just so much more fun.
So real quick with this, Joe Piscopo is a comedian. He was on Saturday Night Live.
But he's not playing this he's no Bill Murray.
No. He does have some humor in this movie. Treat Williams is more of like your solid, like not so much comedic. Probably the most comedic thing I saw him in was Hair, I believe. The musical Hair. And that really wasn't that comedic. He was just kind of a silly character until the end. But Treat Williams' character in this movie is the one that becomes a zombie and is like, he's the straight action person out of the two of them, and he's the one that has to put up with being a zombie the whole time. So yeah, I kind of like that. You would think it would probably be Joe Piscopo being the zombie the whole time, because being a zombie would lend itself to a lot of comedy. But nope, they went with the action guy. Torie.
Same kind of issues I had with Maniac, except for this one, I would say like the imagery was less. It invoked a little less for me, just because of like the way it was directed and shot. But I didn't really have as much fun with it. Same as like Lego said, compared to the others, like it was a bit dry for me. Again, like didn't really feel as much of a horror, felt more like a cop kind of action movie. I also had it in F.
All right. So a C and two Fs. I could actually probably be okay with this going to F as well. I did like My Bloody Valentine probably a little bit more though.
I'd be fine with that being ahead of it. I mean,
move My Bloody Valentine up.
Mm-hmm.
Lego, you okay with that too?
If you both want to, that's fine.
That's the thing with like the F tier is by the time you get down to the end, everyone's like, I don't fucking care. Just move whatever you want in the F tier. It doesn't actually matter. They're all F anyway. So, okay. So that is all 18 movies. Do we want to shuffle anything around? I can believe y'all might want to revisit Brain Damage.
I mean, I just feel like that should be top of A.
Where is it right now?
At the end of A.
I think it's all fine.
I think it's fine because it's like it's just the S and the A for me are all solid. Yeah.
I like that.
I think Reanimator we're all solid on as being like our top.
Like, I absolutely love the S tier, but other than the S tier and Basket Case in A, I feel like the only other tier that I really connect with is all of C. The C tier is pretty solid.
I think that's because Tori and I were like voting the same way for almost everything and in direct opposition to what you wanted. So like all of your picks went to like the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, that would probably be why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's the stuff in D. Yeah. Anyways, William Harold, Joe Piscopo of Star Trek The Next Generation fame. Yeah, that one episode he was in trying to teach Data comedy. And I swear, I'm not a Star Trek nerd. I just happen to know.
Did Data learn?
He did when he got the emotions chip in the movie, Star Trek Generations. But he didn't learn anything from that episode. I can't remember, but...
You don't need emotions for comedy. Come on.
Yeah.
You can be dead inside for comedy, let's be real.
Oh,
Exactly.
Trust me, I know that one. Anyway, so that is going to be the list. Again, I'll clean this up and post this up on Twitter so people can also give their opinion. I don't feel like this is one that a lot of people are going to be absolutely hating or be like, oh, your opinion on this sucks.
I'm just so curious how William Bibiani is going to treat. Like, I want to tag him in it. Like, I like care about his opinion only. I'm just like so curious. Yeah.
Bibbs is definitely one I would have liked to like get him in on this as well, just to because he would have a lot of fun things to say, probably about all these movies. So I'm eager to see if he gets involved in the conversation on Twitter and see what his thoughts are. So feel free to tag him if you like. That would be interesting.
I probably will. I have no shame.
Anyways, so that's gonna do it for that list. Let's bring out Carl back out to shut it down, even though I don't know why after I fell out of this, it kind of just destroyed the illusion that Carl exists. But anyways, nonetheless, I'm a stickler for the way things tradition. So Carl, shut it down. Thanks, Carl.
Man, next you're gonna tell me Santa isn't real.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, this is like its own horror movie in the making of like trying to maintain false reality. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Like, we all know David Harbour exists.
Yeah. Oh, that looks fantastic, actually. Yeah, I'm eager for that. I would say we need to do like one of these like rankings of like the Christmas horror movies.
I'd love to, honestly, because we already did like Christmas movies in December last year.
We did? I don't remember that one.
Yeah, with
Yeah, I don't think that one actually exists.
Oh.
I don't recall doing that. We might need to do that this year just so we have it on our channel available for people to see.
Fair. Yeah. I was thinking about what we could do. Yeah, I would love to do horror Christmas movies.
Yeah,
or like winter theme. Like we could open it up to winter theme if we wanted to.
I mean, I just want to talk about the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. Because at least the first two of those are so much fun, even though they're completely ridiculous. They just have so many fun moments about them. So, yeah, that would be a lot of fun to do. Anyways, So next Marquee, not next Friday, but the Friday after, we will be tier ranking Stephen King movies. These are going to be like basically theatrical release, no TV movies. So unfortunately, we won't have It on there. No Tommy Knockers.
We had to make some lines, or else the list would have been longer than this.
Yeah, it started a super huge list. There will be the theatrical It and It Chapter 2. So the two done by Andy Muschietti will be on there. No like sequels that Stephen King didn't have a hand in. So no
like Pet Sematary 2.
No Pet Sematary 2, no Rage Carrie 2. That won't be on there.
We had to make some lines.
What are you even doing?
We can do a part 2 with Lego at some point.
Yeah, there's plenty of Stephen King that we can do a part 2. I mean, I would actually be open to potentially doing a Stephen King ranking of his like made-for-TV movies, because I just want more people to watch Langoliers. I loved Langoliers. It was so absurd and stupid when I was a kid, and it would be a lot of fun to talk about how ridiculous it is still.
Traumatized my soul, but fine.
What? Yeah. I like Langoliers. It was great. It was dumb, but it was great.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. See, so we need to do that so we can spread the good word of the Langoliers. Yeah, Chris saw it, and he was like, Langoliers is so ridiculous.
Langoliers.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's coming up. Torie will be one of our guests. We do have another guest. I will probably reveal that. What is today? Today's Friday. I'll probably reveal that with the thumbnail on the next tagline next Wednesday. So make sure y'all watch on that. See who the other guest is. We're gonna have a lot of fun, especially with the other guest that's joining us as well. So yeah, I can't wait. Mm-hmm. Anyways, let's go and let me see. Anything else we need to do?
Shout out each of us what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So just plugs. Lego, what you want to plug?
I could be found, I guess, on the YouTubes under the name that's spelled like that, all complicated in French. Like sometimes I talk about things. I have a pretty cool video on Final Girls that came out a little while ago. It's interesting. Not really. I'm goofy. That seems like a thing you'd like to watch. Yeah. I'm so good at plugging. Like, yeah.
Lego's really good at recommending great things to watch.
Your Twitter's the same, Lego, as what's on screen?
Yeah, but that's private.
Okay. Don't find her there.
All right, well, stop putting your Twitter. I'll stop putting your Twitter on stuff like this. We'll figure out something. Anyways, Torie, what do you want to plug?
Torie X Rose, spelled how it is on the screen, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I have been twitching a lot lately, trying to get to affiliate. I played Spyro the Dragon games last week, and I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 for the first time recently. I played it for the first time last night. Really love it, so I'm going to probably be streaming a ton of it. Sorry, after speaking for 2.5 hours, I'm like, look. I'm a cowboy in Red Dead Redemption, and I kill people accidentally, and I'm a mess, and it's really funny to watch. And I might play it drunk sometime. Besides that, Twitter, Instagram, if you want to check me out on there, I'll also be, around on the Cinefanatics chat always, and on a Marquee in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So you can follow the Cinefanatics, which is typically me and my brother when we're not talking about ooey gooey scary horror movies. You can follow us at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you like this video, comment below what your thoughts are if you're watching this on a replay, and don't forget to subscribe because that helps us out. And share videos, share our content and stuff, so more and more people are hearing the good word of the Cinefanatics. Good is doing a lot of work in that sentence, I know, but I mean, just go with me. Otherwise, you can follow me, Robert Adams MLP, on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can also follow and subscribe to me on my own personal YouTube channel. It doesn't have a nice, catchy name. It's just a bunch of letters, but it is down below in the description. So click that link, go over there and hit subscribe to that, please. That would be great. I need to get at least 100 subscribers so I can make a nice name that's easy to read off instead of all those letters. So please go over there and subscribe to that channel. Even if you don't watch me, go subscribe and then come watch me because that would be great. Thank you. Anyways, that's going to do it for the Marquee tonight. Thank you, everyone who has been watching. Love all your takes in the chat and everything. Thank you to my power company for kicking me off of the stream earlier. Just really enjoy that. I will be in touch with you very soon. Also, thank you to Torie and Lego for being a part of this. A lot of fun. Glad I was able to bring y'all like together to meet for the first time virtually. So I feel like you two should be like best friends for like all time. Anyways, thanks for being on here.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank y'all for being on here. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, we will see all y'all for still Friday, right? Yeah, we'll see you on Tagline on Wednesday. Good night.